Oh, you know what I love?
Sports.
Love sports.
Sports.
When it comes to Texas A&M.
Where are you getting this information?
Let me tell you.
Welcome to TexAgs.
I need to talk a little sports with you, Ags. David Nuño here with TexAgs Radio. Billy Lucci here on TexAgs Radio. Olin Buchanan.
We will develop men, we will graduate players, and we will win championships on the field.
The best way for us to win is to do it together.
Do you realize everybody knows who you are right now?
I think we're coming into this year with a new confidence.
Schools are like, we're freaking Texas A&M, man. Like,
that's about as pretty a throw-catch combo as there is.
I saw the safety roll, the slot fade. I knew where I needed to put the ball.
You had no other option but one hand at that point.
Yeah, man, 50-50 ball, I got to come down with it.
You know, if I'm betting on anybody, it's the Aggies.
$102 home runs on the year, is that right? I'm trying to do my math. Carry the 2, add 4. Yep, 102 home runs on the year, OB.
I saw a couple last night.
Yeah, more than a couple, right? Was there how many? 3 last night, maybe?
Well, I remember.
Maybe it was just 2. I thought it was 3, but
It might have been 3.
yeah, I think it was 3. We
I
had
remember,
Jay
Lavalette had one,
Lavalette,
yeah.
Teddy B.
Yeah.
There's one more. Who am I forgetting, Nick? Thank you.
Ali Camarillo.
That's
Ali.
right,
Ali Camarillo. By the way, that's how
How could
Andrew
you forget
Monaco
him?
says it that way, too, by the way. It's not just Nuño doing the Spanish accent
Right.
anymore. It's taken over College Station and Bryan in the Brazos Valley. Hey, it's TexAgs Radio here, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Go Hour, presented by The Warehouse at CC Creations. Today is Wednesday, May 1st, 2024. May freaking 1st, buddy.
May's always been one of my favorite months.
Why? End of school?
Yeah, that was a big part of it. The weather typically starts turning nice in May. Erica's
Yesterday was super hot.
Eric Saris is disagreeing with me over there. The weather, you don't think the weather starts getting better in May?
It's way too hot.
Oh, he's a runner.
Yesterday was 85, I think.
Wait. See, 85 in Texas to me is
It's great, but like compared to what we've had recently, 72, 85 felt hotter for athletic.
You don't have
endeavors.
as much rain.
Yeah.
I don't like a lot of. I don't like cold, so I know that we're entering that part of the year where it's never going to get cold. Now,
Bikinis and sunlight.
yeah, come July, I will probably have had enough of the heat.
Yeah.
but I welcome it in May.
Hey, there's one team that I know of. There might be more than one team, but one team that I know of that's perfect in the midweek games. What team is that?
That
Obi?
would be your Texas A&M Aggies baseball team.
So they've hit 100 home runs. I think the only other team that have done that is the 1999 team that hit 128 on the season. At 102, how many games are left?
Well, let's see, 3, 6, 9 in conference, and then another one as a midweek game that I know of. So there's 10, and then you're going to have the SEC tournament, and then you're going to have a run to the College World Series. So
what you're saying is there's a chance they break that record?
Oh, yeah, I would. Well, the way
Shatter?
they're going, they'll break it, but before the end of I'll say before the postseason.
You know, it'd be cool if they broke it this weekend.
Yeah,
that'd be great.
18 home runs.
Yeah, I'd be fine with it.
against
I mean,
LSU. Yeah.
they've hit 6 in a game before,
Yeah,
right?
they have.
So, I mean, I'm not saying it's not
If they
impossible.
could do all 3. Yeah.
So, yeah, 100 home runs.
That would be a hell of a performance. 666.
Teddy B has 5 homers in 4 games. 9 on the year. Did you say something that I missed? What did you say? Tell me again. Sorry.
You said 6 home runs in every game. Said that'd be a hell of a performance. 666.
See.
Yeah.
Sometimes I go through the stop sign. I California roll OB on your jokes.
It wasn't that good of a joke.
No, it was a little scary, to be honest with you. Yeah,
I'm kind of devil may care this morning.
And you're wearing red, so all good there. Teddy B, 5 homers, 4 games.
He's been
9
on
the
a
year.
tear.
I remember at one point early, I don't know, a few weeks back, I think it was Zane and Bronny saying he's going to get to double digits. He might get to double digits this week.
Well, with all those 6 home runs every day.
Yeah, well, the 666.
Yeah.
What is it, the 4-6 Ranch? What is it called on Yellowstone, the one in Texas?
I don't know. Forgot. It's been so long.
The 4 6s.
The 4 6s.
It's been so long.
It's a real ranch, by the way.
Since they've, updated. I guess they're never going to update that.
No, they're going to finish it.
When?
I think in December. Maybe I read a fake report, but I'm fairly sure on Outkick.com they had that a few weeks
It's like
back.
the Texas Highway Department. When are they going to finish construction?
Wellburn, 2018.
Wherever, it takes forever.
It does take forever.
Like the same guys in charge of Texas Highway Department must be in charge of Yellowstone.
Pretty soon, Highway 6. Oh, my gosh.
It goes both ways.
Hey, now.
It does.
Yeah, it does. All right, so Teddy Burton. This little streak he's on is just another indication of how potent this offense is, because it could be Teddy Burton. We know the top of the lineup, right?
Yes.
Obviously. But it could be Teddy Burton. It could be Travis Chestnut or Mark Chestnut on certain days.
Yeah.
I mean,
when I'm having a senior moment.
It could be Ali Camarillo.
Yes, it can.
It's just all over the lineup, and we should not allow this to we shouldn't just get used to it. We should savor it. We should,
Absolutely.
It is so cool to see what they've done, and they can continue doing it. We got LSU this weekend, a team that struggled, but winning on the road, especially in Baton Rouge. Yeah, they do. I wonder why.
Yeah.
How about Caden Wilson yesterday?
Came in and pitched really well.
He did. Yeah, best outing of the
from
year.
Missouri.
Yeah. He struck out the minimum, 2 innings, striking out 4 of the 6 batters he faced. Brad Rudis, again, solid day. He improves to 4-0 on the year. He had 2 scoreless innings, and he strikes out 2. So a little bit of everything in this game, OB.
Yeah.
A little close. I mean, they were down.
Yeah, they got down.
Came back again.
Yeah, I never worried about that one. Even when they're down 4-1. Looked like, Bronninger's cousin knocked one off the wall. I think it was a 2-run double.
Yeah.
Their fourth hitter, number 4 hitter, I was laughing because I thought it kind of looked like Bronninger's cousin.
Yeah. Josh Stewart retired all 4 batters he faced, 2 of those being strikeouts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was like the guys who pitched well pitched really well, and the guys that struggled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We did not have Gavin Grohovic.
No, go ahead.
We didn't have Gavin Grohovic, but I think we did just pretty well with Kent.
I thought Caden Kent played real well.
Yeah.
I was sitting, I was sitting, I guess about 2 rows back and about 4 rows to the right of his dad.
Oh.
And very stoic through the whole thing.
Always.
Yeah. It's like you would think he didn't even know it was his son up. No, but I guess he's been through it so much, I'm sure it's inward because we know as a parent, you're, everything, you're on the edge of your seat.
You are.
So. And he had that 3-run double.
Yep, off the wall.
No, it went down.
No, that was the gap one.
It went inside it was right down the first base line into the corner.
3 RBIs. He had a walk in the game as well. Look, the midweek games have been really good for these younger players that aren't getting a lot of looks to get some looks. It allows Gavin to get a little bit of a rest, and you set it up for a nice series against LSU.
Yeah, now we got to worry about this huge slump that Braid Montgomery's in. I mean, he went 0 for 4.
Can you believe that? He struck out the last the last game.
I actually kind of like that because I think he'll go into LSU on a mission.
Yep.
Guys like that aren't used to not having just outrageous success. So I would expect that that's going to be gnawing at him, and he's going to be looking to to get back on track. And I'm going to love it when it's in Baton Rouge.
By the way, I'm not this is not a Charlie Condon newscast, but he hit his 30th homer yesterday.
Great player.
Yeah, kid's good. Kid's really good. So baseball will be part of the agenda today. We got some football stuff to get into on the program, but just excited about a LSU series on the road where A&M has won 6 straight series, all against ranked teams. LSU obviously not ranked. It will be an interesting one.
I didn't realize that all the teams they've played were ranked, even Auburn.
The last when they played Auburn, hey, Nick, fact check me.
Maybe that will right. So, I mean, I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying
I might be wrong.
Surprised.
I thought I read on the press release 6 straight series.
Auburn might have been ranked then for all
at the time. Yeah,
but I just haven't thought about it.
No. Definitely the last few.
Yeah.
South Carolina, Alabama. Mm-hmm. Like it's just been It's been good. Vanderbilt too.
Yeah.
Who, interestingly, he has struggled.
Well, you're in the SEC, man.
People are going to struggle, right?
It's not easy. It just goes to show how good this A&M team is.
Auburn was the only team not ranked.
Oh, okay.
So is it 6 straight series or 5 straight series?
6 straight series wins, but 5 of those are against ranked opponents.
And probably 6 of their 7 then series have been against ranked opponents because surely Florida was.
Yep.
The fact that Florida
I think they were
was ranked real high.
I think like 11
like
or 10
or
something. Yeah. So we'll talk some baseball this morning. If you want to be a part of the conversation, you can do it multiple ways. You can call us up, 979-693-1150. You can call that number. You can text that number. And, of course, you can reach out to us on the YouTube page, which you should subscribe to, or on TexAgs.com. Let's go around the room to say hello to the people out there. Nick Savage behind the glass. Nick, good morning, buddy.
Howdy, good morning, y'all.
What's up?
I think I'm with you, Obi. I think they do match and or beat that home run record by the end of the season. I know that's going to take quite an output against especially the number 2 team in the nation coming here to Olsen
That'd be a cool
Field
game.
at Blue Bell Park. Yeah, they used to play baseball games at Kyle Field, so why not? But yeah, and a trip to Ole Miss as well. That's going to be tough on the road. But I'm with you, Obi. I think they do get that home run record, and Bronny called it at the beginning of the year. He said they were going to match it, but I mean, he said he wouldn't be surprised if they broke it.
And not that long ago, they weren't on pace to do it. They, like a week or 10 days ago, they were like on pace to get over 100, but not match it. But if you just keep using these numbers that they've been doing, they will.
It's been a barrage of home runs.
A barrage.
Team has a lot of clout.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who's the hottest player on the team right now? It's got to be Teddy, right?
Burton, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he's just been raining home runs.
And in the last week, I think Jason has got at least 3 home runs in the last week, right?
Yeah.
So, like, he ain't that far behind.
No.
Braden's got a couple in that stretch.
With a big grand slam.
Yeah.
Well, that was pretty.
Chestnut's got a couple.
In one game.
Yeah.
But that grand slam was majestic. That Montgomery hit against Georgia in game 1.
Yeah.
I mean, game 2.
Mm.
Game 1 on Saturday. Man, that was the one that Bronny's put the picture up.
Oh, I love that
God,
picture. They called it the Griffey-esque picture.
I don't know, but if so, Griffey should be. Are they referring to
Ken Griffey Jr.?
Oh, or Lucci's dog.
Lucci's dog was Griffin. Griffey.
Yeah, cousin Griffey.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh.
So, but anyway, what a spectacular home run that was.
Yeah, it was. Aggies gather at the Angry Elephant. Did you know that?
I did.
Yeah, that's a good place to go.
Yeah,
to go
especially
gather.
guys like me.
Let's go check in at the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. That's where we find Eric Casares.
Nice shirt, Eric.
Thank you. Felt good to win in October. I mean, I couldn't say that for my whole life. 2011 was the worst and best year of my life. So glad we got it done. And now we're experiencing, what do they call it, a World Series hangover? So,
well, never celebrate or be demoralized in April.
Hey, we're going to be doing sorry to cut you off, Eric, but we're going to be doing a segment later on the show, a boom or bust, when it comes to Alabama.
Okay.
But SEC Unfiltered, which is our friend Chris Phillips does that, he just put a best case, worst case scenario for Texas A&M 2024.
Interesting.
And he's got best case A&M 9-3.
Okay.
Worst case 6-6.
I would agree with the worst case. I do not agree with the best case.
Best case is 10-2?
Yeah, or my best case might be 12-0. I mean, sometimes, every year there's a team that's the big surprise team. You just maybe it's A&M.
Maybe it's A&M. Yeah.
I never go in to I look at it and I say, okay, this is what I think is going to happen, but I don't ever say this is the best they can do, because athletes, when they're challenged so often, depending on their makeup, I bet Eric Casares, if you told Eric, hey, you can only run this, by the end of the season, he might make you look silly.
Right. Well, 6-6, I just don't see it.
I don't either, because I think they're better.
Where are their 6 losses? Now, it's the SEC, right? But
right.
Put up their schedule real quick. I just don't. To me, there's 7-5 would be their worst.
Yeah, I would think they'd at least be as good as they were last year. Now, you don't have an Ias and you don't have Edger and Cooper, but you don't have Damasio and Craig.
You've done that one before, right?
Damasio.
Notre Dame. All right, if you want to be like pessimistic, Notre Dame loss, at Florida loss because it's on the road, right?
Yeah.
Missouri loss, LSU loss, at Auburn, at Texas. That'd be the only way, and I just don't see that happening.
They do
or
have
not at Texas.
They do have a history of struggling at Starkville, but still, I for one am not gonna. I think people discounting their chances against Notre Dame are kidding themselves.
Well, Notre Dame, new offensive line for A&M, but I like some of the I like the coaching.
Yeah, the difference is A&M new offensive line trying to get better. The offensive line was the strength of Notre Dame's team.
Right.
They lost the number 1 draft choice and a number 2 draft choice, so I doubt they're going to be as good as they were last year.
Going on the road at Florida early on in the season will be a test, even though I don't think Florida's going to be any good. But going on the road in the SEC.
I heard somebody on one of the, maybe it's Feinbaum, talk about how good Florida looks now. I'm like, that's a perfect example of showing up in the spring and getting yourself brainwashed by what you see in the spring.
I am a little worried about Auburn. And maybe it's because I keep reading the headlines about the new additions that they've had. But I got to see it on the field.
Yeah.
But I know they've added a heck of a wide receiver room.
Yeah. Well, what have they done? Who's going to throw it to them?
Peyton Thorne, who was amazing at Kyle Field. By amazing, he was not good at all.
And
he did get better after that game.
Who are all those great defensive players they got?
Yeah.
Now, you do have to go on the road, and by the end of the year, guys will get better. But guys should get better.
On both sides.
Both sides, yeah.
Yep. All right, Eric, we cut you off there just because that came up on my timeline.
Yeah, so I was just going to say, looking at that schedule, I see 4 losses, and maybe I'm just being biased, but I see 4 to 5 losses at the most. LSU maybe, Texas, Mississippi State. We always play bad at Mississippi State, it feels like.
Feels like it.
And then Notre Dame, maybe rusty start, but 4. I don't see more than 4 or 5.
Yeah, like I said, I'm wide open. I would think they'd be at least as successful as they were last year, which wasn't. But I'm talking about at least 7 wins because I do think they're a better team. They're going to be a better team.
Right.
Definitely going to be a more disciplined one. Maybe not more talented, even though they're still talented. But I think they're going to be a much better coach team, and I think that'll make a difference. And again, not going to see one single game that I'm going to go in there and say, I don't think they can win.
Let's do this. Let's hit a break because we want to stay on the clock. We'll come back with Eric later. He's got some reports for us to do. We'll get to some of those text messages coming in and whatnot. Right now, sponsorship and vendor opportunities at the Association of Former Students. If your business or organization is looking for an opportunity to engage with Aggies all over the place, you need to look at the Association of Former Students because they have these awesome events that bring Aggies of all ages together. Like Aggie Ring Day, All Aggie Hullabaloo Gathering. They all welcome tens of thousands of guests out there. Mostly are Aggies, but of course you get everybody here to hang out, and there's some great sponsorship and vendor opportunities available to get your brand in front of those attendees. They offer a wide variety of both digital and in-person options to promote your brand, which include title sponsorship naming, on-site presence and activation, recognition and social media posts, and much, much more. There's also advertising opportunities in the Texas Aggie Magazine, the Aggie News newsletter, which are seen by over 230,000 people. So if your business is ready to engage with Aggies, choose a partner with the organization that's been supporting the Aggie Network for over 140 years. For more information on the options available through the association, please email sponsorships@aggienetwork.com. All right, it's TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Let's return. It's Go Hour, presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations. Let's return to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Eric, I know you had a couple of things to report.
Yeah. So before we get into some text message, I do want to start off with some track and field. Huge weekend in Philadelphia, claiming 2 relay wins in the final day, 4x800 and 4x400 meters at the historic Penn Relays. So for those who are not aware of Penn Relays, it's the oldest track meet around. It's been around since 1895. It's the biggest one. They get about 50,000 people, but they get over 100,000 through the 3 days that they're there. If you win, you get a nice watch. You get a relay teams get a big wheel. You can get both if you win a relay. So there's a lot of good historical background about it, and we can get more into the logistics and everything when Coach Henry gets here, but wanted to give a little shout out to track and field for having a good weekend in Philadelphia.
I think the 3 biggest track meets, beyond Olympics and things like that, in college are what? The Penn Relays, the Drake Relays, and the Texas Relays. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah. And Texas Relays this year has kind of, it wasn't that big, honestly. More people are starting to go to LSU now has their own meet.
Oh, okay.
And LSU and Houston used to have this historic rivalry going on in Texas Relays, and now it's not like that. So different times.
Good times.
Tough break.
What else you got for us?
Yeah, so, okay, I don't know is it Bocus or Bosis?
I'm going to go with Bosis.
Okay, Bosis from Katie said, morning guys, ESPN reported yesterday the cheating by GA pitcher. Do we know if the SEC has launched an investigation into that? Any comment from the GA side?
I haven't heard anything from the Georgia side. I haven't heard anything from the SEC. There hasn't been any reporting on it that I've seen.
Okay, and then
nor do I expect there to be much to come of it.
I think the public scrutiny might be enough to calm them down. Now, I wouldn't be surprised. Schloss on Monday reported that, or he told us, not reported, he told us that, the SEC was looking into a team that had a live feed in their dugout. That was not reported.
Tennessee.
You think it was Tennessee?
Probably.
I don't know if that's the case.
Maybe Vanderbilt.
I tend to, who knows? Somebody in the SEC, right? I'm not going to tip my cards there. But bottom line is, we didn't know that until Schloss said something about it, right? So there's possibility behind the scenes, things are happening. But I do think that young man and Georgia will probably be a little bit more careful moving forward. And I think Tom Hart was the one who said yesterday, he goes, he thought he was being careful. But when you bend over in a corner like that long enough, and then there's video evidence of you touching your wrist several times during the game.
Right.
In today's world, with John Boy's and Zapruder film analysis out there, you're going to get caught probably.
And just think about everywhere Georgia plays from here on out the rest of the season. They're going to get the Houston Astros treatment everywhere they go.
Plus, I kind of, but
championship treatment.
I kind of think that Georgia's probably one of those SEC protected programs.
Even on the baseball side?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. How did we get there?
That probably never happened. We're not one of the old guards.
What if we win a bunch of national championships and everything, and we become the gold standard of the SEC?
Well, then maybe, but we're not. I think they more likely to protect the old time. I mean, they told us that nobody from Texas was going to be in the conference other than SEC than A&M.
Right.
So,
OB, let's not forget that at my first preseason kickoff, which, by the way, you can get your tickets at texags.com/preseason kickoff, July 29th. At my first one, Gabe interviewed me, and my thoughts were, we're entering the golden age of Aggie sports.
Well, I thought we were. It looked like, and you know what? Everybody
right now feels good.
I think, other than football, almost everybody's doing extremely well.
Our spring sports are doing great.
Spring sports, again, volleyball got into the, went from struggling to getting into the.
And they're picking up transfers. They're looking great, like softball, women's basketball.
Both basketball teams were in the NCAA tournament. The men came
golf
very close to getting into the Sweet 16. Golf's doing well. So, and quite frankly, in my opinion, it's not always right, but that doesn't stop me from giving it. In my opinion, if your coach hadn't gotten complacent and lazy, football would have been doing real well too.
Or if you just made a couple personnel changes.
Well, that's part of being complacent and lazy.
Just a couple. You're still the coach.
I mean, he's sitting there telling us that Adazio's doing a great job. And I'm like, why are you lying to people? Nothing to see here.
Do you think it's a lie, or because that's his guy?
I think it's his guy.
Right.
And, I don't know if this is true. There's this allegation that They have the same agent, Adazio, and Jimmy Sexton represents both. And so he's doing Sexton a favor and all these things. And I don't know if that's true, but I know that's been alleged. But and then again, we find out about all the dysfunction going on in practices and things like that. And you're like, Jerry Schmidt leaves, and you just put somebody at Texas A&M who's never been in charge of strength and conditioning, and you're going to do that at Texas A&M?
Right.
And the best defensive coordinator you can come up with at Texas A&M is DJ Durkin, DJ Smirkin. That's the best you can do. So, yes, if your coach hadn't gotten fat, complacent, and lazy, football would have been better too. Just my opinion. You don't have to agree with it.
We sometimes do, OB.
Let me tell you something. I am an expert on fat, complacent, and lazy.
And the 3-6s?
And 3-6s. Hell yeah. You didn't see. No.
Eric. Let's get
going to someone who's not fat, complacent, and lazy, Eric Casares.
Oh, you're coming back to me?
Yeah.
Were you listening? What were you doing the last 14 seconds?
I was laughing. I'm sorry.
Did you not hear us say to you, Eric? Eric again.
No, I was laughing at the 3-6 joke.
Oh, sorry. Anywho.
Okay, so Jarrett, he said that did Vandy pitcher get suspended for 4 games for cheating this year? So why not the Georgia pitcher?
They might. It might happen. I mean, the question earlier was, do we know if there's an investigation going on? I would assume the SEC is looking into it. Where that will go, we'll have to wait and see.
Yes.
All right, let's hit a break here. When we come back on TexAgs Radio, boom or bust, Alabama. Are they the Mike Tyson still? I want you to think about it. Don't answer that question, but do they still have that Mike Tyson appeal to them with a different head coach? They're going to have to prove that to me.
They can beat you down to Bolivia.
Right now, we're talking about Rollo Insurance. They are the official insurance provider of TexAgs Radio, and the difference is real. They are our studio sponsor for a huge reason. A, because they love TexAgs, and they're going to be the new studio sponsor. We really appreciate what Jason and Jackson and the whole crew, Keith and all the great people out there do. They're built around educating you on exactly what you're paying for, doing the shopping for you so that you can accomplish all of your insurance goals. They've got 53 offices in the great state of Texas, but they're all over the place, right? They can do it in several other states. I know Utah is one of the big states as well, and they just want to take great care of you. There's a reason Morgan, I call him whenever I have any question. He takes care of me within seconds, and I think I told the story once before where I had a flat tire. He's like, I'll come get you. I'm like, dude, I'm an hour away. I'll come get you. We figured it out, but he still offered it. Headquarters is on Highway 6. They are local. They care about A&M. They care about Aggie sports, and they care about this great community here in the Brazos Valley. What you need to do is call them up, 888-44-ROLLO, or go to rolloinsurance.com. Again, that is 888-44-ROLLO, or go to rolloinsurance.com. It's Rollo Insurance. This is a good one.
Oh, Rod Stewart, I was probably about in the 5th grade when this was you couldn't get in the car and drive, 10 minutes without hearing this song at least once, maybe twice.
Hey, it's TexAgs Radio. Did you know that?
I did.
Yeah, we're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We're here in the Rollo Insurance Studio. We do need to get into some basketball news, and I'll do that.
Big news.
Yeah, big news, right? In fact, why don't we start there? Let's start A&M, and then we'll work our way to the Alabama topic that I had out there. Zurich Phelps, becomes the 3rd portal addition for Texas A&M, joining C.J. Wilcher and Pharrell Payne. He averaged last year 14.7 points per game, 4.1 rebounds, 2.7 assists out there. The guy has started a lot of games there for SMU, 62 starts in his 92 games with them. The final 2 years as their starting point guard, nearly 16 points a game. And he'll leave with 158 steals and basically had a little bit more steals per game than Wade Taylor had. And we know how good Wade Taylor was with those steals out there. So still trying to find a option for Boots Radford, or a replacement, I should say.
That might be it.
He might be it. More on the point guard side, but what?
Well, Boots, they kind of alternated.
They did.
Guys, right?
Yeah, they did. I'm trying to see how tall Zurich Phelps is.
6'5".
6'5". Okay, he's got the size.
Yeah.
Can attack the rim. Yeah, 6'5", 195 from Midland. Looks like that's where he was born. I know that Luke Evangelist has covered him before in high school. So looking forward to the newest edition. Look, I will give Buzz this. He gets the right players typically for his system, right? For the most part, the people he brings in become huge contributors. Julius Marble, things didn't work out, but he was a very good contributor.
I think the only time Buzz has not done really well in the portal to make his team better, right? Just make his team better.
Yep.
Was the COVID year when they couldn't, go watch people, right? And they brought in the kid from Quinnipiac who couldn't play at this level.
Right.
But again, they were severely hampered with what they could do and what they could scout and things like that. So he went on stats basically. But with the exception of that, he's brought in good players every time.
He has brought in good people. Look, I like the direction they're going. I'd still like to see another three-point shooter make the roster, another guy who can knock down the threes. I'm trying to look at Zurich's three-point percentage. Not very high, 21% last year. 2 years ago, 30%. His first year at SMU, 23%. So not a three-point shooter.
But you brought in a three-point shooter earlier. The kid from Nebraska.
Yes, CJ.
Yeah. He's a three-point shooter.
Yeah, and I think right around 40%, 39.5%.
What I'd like to see him is bring in another big. I don't even know if they feel like they need one, but
another big, another three-point shooter would be nice. How about that? Because I think you can use another.
How about a big who can shoot three-pointers
from Germany?
From anywhere, man, as long as he can make them.
All right, let's do a little boom or bust. Alabama. Looking at their schedule, OB, considering the change, I'm going to tell you what I have them. I think their boom, their high is 10 wins. Their bust is 7-5, and I'll explain to you some of my reasons. First off, they're going to have to prove to me to have the Alabama mystique. I love Kalen DeBoer. I think he's a really good coach, but it's one thing to coach in the Pac-12 and another thing. And yes, he's had success, high level of success, but to do it in the SEC every week, you got to prove that to me. And you're replacing the GOAT. There has to be some drop-off somewhere.
Yeah.
There has to be.
I think their boom, their ceiling is 11 wins.
Okay.
Because I don't see them beating Georgia. Okay. So, and like you said, it's no longer Nick Saban. And I know DeBoer did some good things, but we're talking about the best coach ever. And, again, I'd need.
They lost a lot of players.
I would need somebody to tell me, why are you going to. Look, they beat Auburn based on Auburn having a coaching meltdown.
Right.
Right? Beat A&M with or almost lost to A&M with A&M playing a backup quarterback and all the other issues that A&M had.
OB, so if you look at their schedule, early on, it's
Tennessee.
The first half of the season, very easy.
Yeah.
Outside at Wisconsin, I don't know.
They're going to beat Wisconsin.
Okay, so Georgia, right? That's the game.
They're 5-1 going into Tennessee.
But then that 3-game stretch to me defines their season.
Yeah, I wonder about Missouri. I know Missouri's going to be able to score, but they weren't good on defense last year. And look who they lost about 2 or 3 guys on defense in the NFL draft, and they're defensive coordinators at LSU now.
But going on the road to Tennessee and going on the road to LSU with Missouri in the middle, who right now is probably going to be a top 10 team, that stretch right there determines their season.
You're probably right.
It's always hard to go on the road to Baton Rouge.
Well, the second half of the season, look, I'm not high on Oklahoma by any means, but they're a respectable, proud program, and you're on the road at Tennessee, at LSU, at Oklahoma. You got Missouri and Auburn. So I don't know that there's any just mail-in wins other than Mercer.
Well, it's the SEC, right? So also, when you think about some of the changes, right, it's not just a philosophy change, and that takes time. There's a lot of personnel changes. The offensive line, we had Ryan Fowler on the show yesterday. He's very worried about their O-line, completely different-looking O-line. That is going to be a problem for them.
I didn't think it was that great last year.
Well, apparently it's not going to be better.
And they take Lathan, the fifth or sixth player taking the draft off of it, even though I didn't think he was that great.
The secondary, loaded with talent, but young talent, that haven't proven themselves.
Right, because some guys are at McKinstry now in the NFL, and one guy's at Downs at Ohio State.
Yep. So that's an issue for them, okay? Wide receiver, completely new wide receiver room. They got a lot of talent, but completely new wide receiver room. So those are three areas. But blue chip ratio, they're third in the amount of 4 and 5 stars in the country. So they still have the talent that we're used to seeing. But again, I think they're going to destroy Wisconsin. I do believe that. But Wisconsin is a pivotal game. Obviously, Georgia, at LSU, at Tennessee, and then Auburn to close out the season.
I think Alabama is losing some of its mystique. It was
even last year.
Yeah, you went in thinking, how are you going to beat those guys? And then you're like, some guys left thinking, how do we lose to those guys?
Yeah,
like Auburn, like A&M.
So here's another thought for you. You know what Jalen Milroe's record is against the SEC?
It's probably pretty good, actually.
Undefeated.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
That's pretty good, right? So that is something to consider. Now, I've read some publications. I even asked Ryan Fowler about it yesterday. Is he even a guarantee to be the starter all season long? And there is Heisman potential with him, and there's also he may lose his job. Ty Simpson apparently had the better spring and is more suited to his style.
Well, I'll say this: if DeBoer ever goes with Simpson, they better win, and they better win big. Because if you take that guy out after getting basically when they decided to do what he does well, and they came 3 yards away from the national championship game.
Mm-hmm.
And with Jalen Milroe leading the way. And if you change quarterbacks and don't get there and don't get better, then you just, I don't think it's as much as bad as the guy at Mississippi State.
Well,
but you're going to become under extreme scrutiny, and then you find out why so many coaches wilt in Tuscaloosa.
Well, I was going to say
you have to be perfect.
Last year, to me, is not the reason Nick Saban is the GOAT, but it is a reason that they're the GOAT because there were so many people that thought there was going to be a 7-5, 8-4 season coming into it, and then the way they lost to Texas. But what did he do? He completely changed the narrative a week later, or maybe it was 2 weeks later.
2 weeks later, after
2 weeks later,
they kept saying, well, they're going to go with the kid from Notre Dame who now is a lacrosse player, and they go down to
back at Notre Dame.
Yeah, they go to South Florida and dang near lose, and they say, okay, maybe this Milroe is our best option. So
Tyler Buckner.
Hello. Yeah, Buckner. Hello. Let's don't call plays that he doesn't do well. Let's call plays that he does do well.
And that's why people from Texas do not like when I say this. Hey, congratulations. You beat a team that was rolling after your game. But the Alabama team that Texas played early in the season was not the Alabama team later.
It's true. But I mean,
you get credit for the win.
Teams get better as the season. Some teams get better. Some teams.
But they got significantly better.
They did. They did. Well, again, it was pretty. But we say that, and it's true. But Auburn gave. Remember the guy fumbled the punt?
Yeah.
If he catches the punt, none of that other stuff happens. I mean, Auburn literally had them beat with Peyton Thorne at quarterback and gave it away. So there's that about and then, Alabama too.
And if I remember correctly, didn't Milroe just make this the most beautiful pass in that game?
But
on 4th and 18 or whatever.
Yeah, with two guys rushing.
Yeah.
I don't even think DJ Durkin would rush two.
You're really upset with him.
But I was upset with him all year.
All year.
Right?
Oh, yeah, no doubt. So you think their bust is what, OB? 8-4?
Yeah. That to me, I mean, in a worst case scenario at Alabama, they go 8-4, and they probably won't do that. I'm not really buying Tennessee. I don't know why LSU is going to be better. In fact, LSU can't be better. And
but again, in Baton Rouge,
I know, but that's not. I don't care what they say about Nussmeier. That's not Jaden Daniels.
Yeah, it's not.
And that's 2 first-round draft choice receivers, and their defense was abysmal.
And then Tennessee. At Tennessee will be difficult. Nico, people are just, they want to start throwing parades.
Yeah, why?
Because he can run. He can do more of what they want to do there.
Show me the great game he had. What are they basing it on?
Potential high school stats, recruiting.
He may be. I'm just saying that, I could give you 1,000 quarterbacks based on their high school stats and all that, maybe not 1,000, but that pan out. So I'm just saying, I got to be Missouri. I got to be the guy from Missouri and say, show me, Nico.
What about at Oklahoma? Because I'm not buying this Oklahoma hype that people have.
I don't either, but it's a proud program, and it's one of those where if you go in there thinking that, okay, especially on the road, okay, this is an easy win, then you're going to be like LSU and Kyle Field 2 years ago and say, well, we thought we had it. And then you're going around and say, well, anybody get the number of that truck that just
right?
And the number was 6, by the way.
But
Devon A-Chain.
But for Bama, it's about the mystique for me, right? Like there's a Mike Tyson factor that Nick Saban had.
Yeah,
right?
but they're the Mike Tyson after Buster Douglas beating.
Exactly my point. That's what I mean. Like they've got to prove to me that they. And by the way, Kalen DeBoer is probably going to figure it out, and they're going to be an excellent program. But I don't know if that happens in 2024. I don't think they're going to be bad. I wouldn't put my money on 7-5.
I just don't know that you go in thinking you're almost 7 points behind just going in because you go, oh, we're playing Alabama.
Right.
I don't think the opponents they probably feel that way about Georgia. But I just don't know that you still respect them, of course. I mean, we're saying that their absolute worst case scenario is 8-4.
Well, OB, I think this year might be the hardest year for me personally, and I assume in your career, to kind of figure out these teams because the amount of portal movement.
Well, that's true.
And also, and that's for everybody, right? Like Alabama's 20-plus new players, right? The amount of portal movement and the college football playoffs expanding now kind of changes the way you look at things, right? Like because a 10-2, potentially 9-3 team, could a 9-3 team get into the playoffs?
Sure.
So it kind of changes the way we look at everything. It's hard to gauge.
I'm sitting here talking up Georgia, and then I have to remind myself that offensive line is being rebuilt. That's not Brock Bowers. That's not McConkey.
But they have the most 5 stars in the world. They do.
Is anywhere in the country should acknowledge that having a whole bunch of 5 stars doesn't guarantee anything.
It does.
A&M.
No, but they have a culture.
Okay, they have that.
They have a proven culture now.
I'll give you that.
Yeah. They party a little bit after championships, but they have a culture.
Just don't drive, Georgia. Just don't drive.
Hey, I'm going to head on over to Caldwell.
Oh, yeah?
I'm going to drive to Caldwell.
It's probably about, once you get to the edge of Bryan, it's probably about 15 minutes to the edge of Caldwell.
Bad. Actually, I was told from Rellis, 14 minutes.
14 minutes from
Rellis campus, yeah. Believe that or not. And then when you go there, there's a lot of cool things to see in Caldwell. Kennedy Cavan's home, and there's a lot of other things. But as you're driving down that road on Highway 21, and you look on your left-hand side, there's a place called Caldwell Country.
I've been there.
Chevrolet.
I've been there.
Yeah. Good people there at Caldwell Country.
I'll give you that. I don't know if I've ever met somebody from Caldwell that I didn't like.
I'm sure there's one or two that I've met that I didn't like. But for the most part, great people. And if you work in Caldwell, you choose to go there, definite good people.
Never met a bad person from Caldwell.
No, it's that's the place to go to get your vehicle, guys. Great deals, great pricing, great trade-in value, and of course the customer service you've heard me talk about for a long, long time. The best customer service in the area. That's why people go to Caldwell Country Chevrolet. When you're looking for a new vehicle, make sure you start there. Start your search online and then go in person, and you're going to be blown away by the awesome, awesome stuff that they have out there. As OB mentioned, 15 minutes, the edge of Bryan to the beginnings of
of Caldwell.
Yeah.
Okay, Kevin might have been a little overrated.
She's listening.
But everybody else from Caldwell I think are awesome.
Short conversation away, but you'll see the difference when you step on the lot and do business with the great people there at Caldwell Country Chevrolet. Highway 21 in Caldwell. Online, CaldwellCountryChevrolet.com. Back on TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio Go Hour, presented by the warehouse at CC Creations, CCOB. I'm David Nuño, and Eric Cassars is at the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Eric, what do you got for us?
Yeah, so Madden in Houston said, I like DeBoer a lot, but his teams will not only go against better players, but better coaches. What do you got to say about that?
Well, I'd say they're better coaches in the SEC than they are in the Pac-12.
Yeah.
Yeah, and definitely better players. All you got to do is look at the draft to see that.
Yep. But he has done well in big games.
Yeah.
Beat Texas a couple times. Obviously got to the championship last year.
I don't ever want to give Texas credit, but I'm going to tell you this. And I know Sarkisian's is great, play calling and everything. If he had just run the football there at the end, they would have won that game. Washington wasn't. I remember Washington was not stopping the running game. I don't know what it is about sometimes making it harder than it has to be. I'm glad he didn't. I was rooting for the Huskies.
I was too. God, yeah. Heck yeah. I became a huge Huskies fan that day. Eric, what else?
Yeah, back to Bosis and Katie said, I really think we can go 12-0 this year because Elko will get the guys to get the inch that we have been missing in one-score games that we have lost in the past.
I hope you're right, buddy. I love
you.
Say They're going to find the inches, huh? No more catchphrases. Just catch passes.
That's a catchphrase.
Yeah,
no more catchphrases.
But I'm not the coach.
New shirt. No more catchphrases.
Just catch passes.
That's a lot of text on a shirt.
You put one on the back.
No more catchphrases in the front. Just catch passes in the back.
Yeah.
I like it.
Okay.
We're making these shirts. Alcoholic. There was actually a meeting about that.
I like the old alcoholic.
There was a meeting about it, so it could happen. It could happen.
And then on the back you put the alcoholic, and then on the back you put the schedule. It's our 12-step program.
By the way, boom. That was very. See, God, you've got some ideas. We should put you on the marketing team.
It'll never happen.
You're right. Yeah, I've decided against it.
Yeah, I'm the black sheep of TexAgs.
Well, we love you.
Yeah, sometimes.
Yeah, that's true. Now you mention it. As for the 12-0 thing, look, we can dream. They've the Boar has to prove to me. The Aggies have to prove to me, right? You got to prove to me you can win on the road. You got to prove to me you can block. You got to prove to me that you can protect your quarterback. Different regime.
So many things.
I'm hopeful.
If I had to put money on, the under/over, I would not put A&M to win 10 games. That said, there's not a game on the schedule I'm going to go in saying that they can't win that one.
But if you were to throw out a number today, would it be 8?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. God, I hate that number, though.
I do, too.
It's better than 7.
Yeah.
No. OB, thank
it's
you.
Not as good as 9.
No. 10 would be better.
How's that for analysis? 8 is better than 7, but not as good as 9.
When we come back on TexAgs Radio, John Harris on the program. After that, Trisha Ford on the program. After that, Coach Pat Henry on the program. After that, more and more and more. It's TexAgs Radio. We'll see you in a bit. TexAgs Radio presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. Appreciate everybody listening in. We are waiting on John Harris to join the program. I do want to read something. I definitely want to do this with OB tomorrow, but I'm going to bring it up right now because John Harris says he's waiting on the Zoom, Nick. So maybe you want to text it to him. But there's a CBS Sports column out from a couple of days ago that talks about the NFL draft, right? And it caught my attention for multiple reasons. One of it was because the Aggies that they had going in this draft, right? And some of the non-Aggies, former Aggies, also going in this upcoming draft. So I'm going to just read you some of the names for you to like, oh, okay. So from an Aggie first-round pick perspective, this CBS Sports way too early NFL draft roundup has Noah Thomas going 15th to the Chicago Bears. Okay. He'd have to have a really good season for that to happen. But he's not the only one. All right. I'm going to continue down the list. Evan Stewart going 20th, the Oregon wide receiver, former A&M wide receiver. He is going 20th to the Chargers, according to this. Continue. This one is the one I want everybody's reaction to. Denver Harris, the 22nd pick in the draft, according to CBS Sports. It says for Denver Harris, the A&M and LSU transfer only played in 5 games last season, but he has all the tools to be a top-flight corner if he can stay on the field and put it all together. John Harris says the Zoom won't load, guys, so let's just call him on the phone lines and put him on that way. So Denver Harris, according to CBS Sports, a first-round pick. And since I'm at it, it also has one other Aggie going in the first round. That would be Shamar Turner to the Detroit Lions with the Fighting Dan Campbells, okay? So that is how CBS Sports way too early NFL draft thoughts. I don't see that. Am I missing something? I'll ask John Harris about Denver Harris, but I got to assume he's had problems at A&M. He's had problems at LSU. I got to assume that's going to affect his draft status, regardless of the kind of talent he has. If he was already warned at LSU on a couple of occasions, obviously had his issues at A&M. I can't imagine him going first round, or going, to be honest with you. At this point, I guess I got to see what that'll be. But I just cannot see that happening. So we're trying to get John Harris on the show. Apparently his phone's having some issues, so we will try him again here momentarily. But I just don't see that being the case. And now he says he's on the Zoom, Nick, so we can try it that way. It's very hard to do a talk show when they're texting me directly. Eric, any of those surprise you?
Yeah, well, I mean, I saw one by, you said that was CBS?
Yep, CBS Sports.
Yeah, there's one from NBC Sports. This was way too early, 2025 NFL mock draft. They had the Dallas Cowboys selecting Evan Stewart at number 25.
Interesting. So let's go to the hotline. We're joined by footballtakeover.com and Houston Texans sideline reporter John Harris here on the program. Johnny, good morning, buddy.
Good morning. Sorry about that.
All good?
Internet issues, as always. You know, that's how things go. But click one button and it all works perfectly. So, man, I hope you're doing well.
Hope you're doing well, buddy. Is that a new mic? It's a good-looking mic right there.
No, one of the unfortunate casualties of draft weekend was I lost my AirPods, which I usually do the interview with. So, there's somewhere between NRG Stadium and here. I don't know where. And I very rarely lose things. I always put it in the same spot because I'm OCD that way. There's so many different things happening draft night. I put them in my pocket, and my guess is they popped out. And so now I do it with my my studio set up, my mic in my office right now. So away we go.
You sound good. So we were kind of reacting to CBS Sports, this way too early NFL draft, mock draft, I should say. And it had Denver Harris as a first-round pick. I don't study it the way you do, Johnny. I just can't imagine that even is a possibility. I think your background, your character absolutely matters. Is this just like somebody who didn't do research, or is there a possibility that I'm missing?
You know what I think it is a lot of guys that try to look back, and I do this, but I do it as kind of a cross-check. I go back and I look at recruiting rankings from 3 years ago and try and match up, hey, which guys were, did I miss? Is there somebody I missed? Oh yeah, man, I forgot this guy's at this place. He went to Colorado State he's a good player, all that kind of stuff. So I think they go back to recruiting rankings, and if I remember correctly, Denver Harris's recruiting ranking was pretty high. But it just means it basically shows you're not paying any attention or doing your research, or you're just trying to do it so quick to get it out there to get clicks and get people to talk about it that, and there are a lot of people that do that nowadays. And I'm not, saying one way or the other, but I know a lot of people that do that, just throw it out there, just get out there fast, get out there. And I'm like, somebody was asking for my, top 32, and it's coming, but I've been working on mine for a while. I've been working on it for a little bit. I still don't feel comfortable kind of putting it out there just yet, because I want to make sure that I've got at least top 32. Like I'm on it. I don't want to put it out there and go, oh, well, I haven't even looked at the ACC, so I don't have anybody from the, I want to make sure it's pretty thorough, but it goes to show that, as much as we'd like to be on top of things, some people just aren't.
Yep.
And I don't know where that comes from, but I don't want to, look, I never say never to anything, except death and taxes, but Denver Harris isn't going to the first round. There's no way. Now with all the movement and all the different things, will he go in the second round when teams start taking some risk? Sure. He's a talented guy. But when you've had issues at a couple different places, hell, you're not going to the first round. Forget that.
Well, I'm going to throw you out some other ones because, if I were to do this for next year, my first round picks for A&M, if there were two, would be Nick Scorton and Shamar Turner. You agree with that?
Yep, absolutely. I think teams are looking for it this year. They just didn't find it. They're always looking for interior or edge pass rush pressure. I mean, how are you going to slow down the CJ Strouds and Joe Burrows and the Patrick Mahomes of this world? I mean, you have to create problems for them. I mean, one of the teams that gave the Chiefs some issue at the end of the year with the Las Vegas Raiders. Well, what the Las Vegas Raiders have, or more importantly, who the Las Vegas Raiders have? They have Max Crosby. He's an unblockable force. And so, okay, we're not going to let Max Crosby ruin the game. Okay, well, then you send a tackle, a tight end, a running back all over to his side. But then they've drafted another dude, Malcolm Kuntz, who started to rise his game, and now he's creating pressure one-on-one on the other side. You create pass rush pressure on these quarterbacks, and you're going to win games. It's simple as that. There really is no team in the league where you go, oh, man, they create a ton of pass rush pressure, and they're 3-13-1. No, that's not it. You have to get to the quarterback. I think Nick is going to show everybody what I saw at Purdue last year, and I remember watching him in the Fresno State game and at the early part of the season, and I was just like, whoa. I didn't realize at the time. I just put his name into my, I have a list I maintain. I've always said this, David. I have a list I maintain during the season. It's on my phone. It's also connected to my computer, the whole cloud thing. And I just write it down. Okay, number 5, Nick Skurton, Purdue. This guy did this. And I kind of just track, just those names. And then at the end of the year, kind of go back. And so when I saw that he had gone to, and then I realized, oh, he's from that area. I'm like, oh my God. This is perfect. I think he's going to be a stud. And I think Stewart has shown the versatility to be able to play a number of different spots, whether it's out on the edge, moving inside. The NFL just can't get enough of athletic edge rushers, athletic, versatile, inside-outside guys. I mean, we went out and got Nico Autry. Nico Autry is 35 years old, I think. 35 years old. He's 275 pounds, which is really not a defensive tackle. He's really not a defensive end. But we're not the only team to do this.
Right.
But we just paid him 2 years, $20 million because he can go get the quarterback and because he stayed relatively healthy and he plays his ass off. So you throw all that together for a young guy, those guys can end up making a lot of cash, and it's what the NFL is looking for. They're not looking for the next running back.
Johnny,
there's so many receivers, they just land in their laps. They're looking for Shamir Stewart and Nick Skurton. There's no doubt in my mind. They're looking for those guys. And so there's going to be a premium put on those guys. And as long as they stay on the trajectory, they'll be first-round picks.
Well, I was going to say Shamar Stewart is not the name I said, but you're right. Shamar Stewart should be a first-rounder, and Shamar Turner could be a first-rounder.
Yeah.
And so, but could both of them? I mean, is there a world where all three of those guys are in the first round or first two rounds?
Potentially. And, I think the NFL wanted to have more interior disruptors. There just weren't that many in this draft. There just weren't that many. I was thinking Turner. I didn't say Stewart, but I think Stewart can absolutely be in that mix as well. But I think because they create edge pressure, there's so much of that. But I love guys that can create interior pressure too and are versatile enough to create it from both inside, outside. Look, Darius Robinson from Missouri went the number 27th pick. He's 285 pounds. He's not really outside. He's not really inside, but he can do both. So the Cardinals made him a mid to later first-round pick. So if you can go get the quarterback, you're going to get paid. You're going to get paid a lot. And if you stay, and you can stay relatively healthy as opposed to, like a running back. So, I mean, if I'm a parent out there and I've got an athletic kid and he's like, Dad, I want to play running back, I'd be like, hell no. You either throw it or you go chase the guy who throws it or you go protect the guy who throws it. Any one of those and you're going to get paid. Now, receiver is starting to change, so you might want to go catch it. But what's happening, I think, with receivers in the NFL is there's so many of them that at some point it's going to, I don't want to say be devalued, but there's going to be such this fight for the rare finds. And those are defensive tackles, athletic stud defensive tackles, exterior pressure, edge pressure. Those guys that can do that, they are not a dime a dozen. Every university across the country has 12 receivers in their stable. They've got a couple of good ones. Everybody's going to receiver. But it's the pass rush pressure. It's the interior pressure. And the A&M's got plenty of that. So it's got to really show itself this year and really come to fruition this year. And it needs some help from the offense, I think, because the offense gives it some help. Then all of a sudden it puts them in a better position to show their skills, rushing the passer. And if they can do that and do that often, they got a pretty good chance of really exciting the NFL scouts.
John, let's stay down that track because I'm interested in it. Let's just say in that world, that scenario that I made up, which seems unlikely, but certainly possible, that three of those guys go in the first 2 rounds, right? Let's just say for this scenario. What does that mean for the A&M defense this upcoming year? What kind of defense, if those 3 guys are getting that kind of look, what does that mean for what we see on the field?
Well, I think what it does, outside of the fact it puts those guys on a pedestal, people around the country saying, hey, man, you need to watch this A&M. It's back to the wrecking crew, all that kind of stuff. But what it also does is it allows, Torian York to play free. Those guys are taking up all the blockers. Those guys are demanding double teams. They're demanding a lot from an opposing offense. That lets your linebackers run clean to the football. Now you're going to have to replace Edgerrin Cooper, and that's going to be tough. But I think it makes everything else easier for the linebackers. It makes everything else easier for the secondary. You can play your technique, and the ball might end up right in your lap because quarterbacks have to get rid of it that much sooner. So if those guys in particular play at a high level, it just eases the pressure on everybody else at the second and third level. And that's really what you'd love to be able to have, that those guys up front produce pressure, which produces quicker throws, which produces more inaccurate throws, which produces more turnovers. More turnovers gives the ball back to the offense, more opportunities to score. And, I don't need to explain the rest. I kind of did, but you get the point. Your offense benefits. Everybody benefits when you have those studs inside. And look, I think the Texans, were a great example of that last year. When Will Anderson was added to the crew and he's added to John Grenard, all of a sudden John Grenard went from being never a double-digit sack guy to 12.5 in 14 games. Will, had he stayed healthy, he would have been 10+ as a rookie. He's defensive rookie of the year. Look at, the games we played in the playoffs against the Browns, pressure from the edge, forced Joe Flacco into some bad throws, and that turned into 2 pick sixes. Instant offense from your defense. And I think that's the way that the A&M defense has to think. Hey, we got to, not that we score as much as the offense, but hey, we can contribute to the party. We're going to score 35 today, and we're going to account for 10. Indirectly, we're going to account for 10 today. Just think of the pressure it takes off your offense. So I think that's where you can get to with this particular defensive group and how talented it is.
Johnny, I was so hoping that Edge was going to end up with the Texans. There was a chance there, but he goes to the Packers. What do you think about the fit?
I like the fit, actually. I'll be honest, David. I know a lot of people want him to come to the Texans. I really didn't, because I just think he was not – the fit I think would be there. But we kind of already had Edgerrin Cooper. And we have Christian Harris, and that was, that was the player I comped him to. So I wanted Edge to go to a place where he was going to have an opportunity. He's got an opportunity to play in Green Bay. There's no question. I mean, they've got Quay Walker, linebacker, but he's wild, man. You never know what to expect from him. And they've got Isaiah McDuffie, who actually, I think if you played edge next to Isaiah McDuffie, you could keep kind of the craziness down and the discipline up, and I think you'd end up having a really good combination. But when you put Walker and Cooper on the field, man, you have an opportunity to do high-flying dunks, but you might miss layups, if that makes sense. So he's got still an opportunity to go play. I think he's going to start sooner than later. As soon as he can pick up the defense, I think he's going to find himself on the field. I think that's going to end up being the biggest challenge, not just for Cooper, but any NFL rookie linebacker. How do you pick up the defense? Because you got to talk to the front, and the front may be completely different from what you were used to. And when you're talking to an experienced veteran front, there are some guys up front that aren't going to do what's in the playbook. Like, hey, wait a second. You need to be in a 4-eye, dude. No. I've been in this league long enough. I know what's coming. I'm going to bump down to a 3, So learning what the front's doing, what guys up front kind of can, like with J.J. Watt, you never knew what he was going to do. So you always had to kind of play off of him. So you got to have to deal with the talent you have. You got to be able to talk to the back. You got to know what the back is thinking. You got to talk to the front. So rookie linebackers that end up being great, I give them all the credit in the world. Like when D'Amico came in 2006, that's what told me everything about D'Amico. He comes in 2006 and he's running things from day one. You're like, okay, that's a stud. So Coop's got to learn how to deal with NFL defenses, learn his defense, know it inside and out. Like even when he thinks he's got it down, he's got to learn it that much more because he's got to be able to teach it to the front, talk to the back, and make sure everybody's on the same page. Because if the Packers have had an issue the last few years, it's that. But they haven't all been on the same page. They're doing all different things, and they don't need to do that, which has allowed Edgerrin Cooper the opportunity to go to Green Bay and be a stud. I said at Football Takeover when I put out my NFC grades, and or not grades, but I put out kind of my report, and I answered 4 questions. And one question that I put for Green Bay was best overall pick. I put Cooper. I said I would have taken Cooper at 25 from the Packers before I would have taken Jordan Morgan, who they took at 25. Like I get offensive tackle, and that's the only reason he went higher is because of that. Cooper I had rated, I think, right at Jordan Morgan's spot or right above him. So I thought a lot about Cooper. You know how I felt about it. I think Green Bay is a great spot for him.
Johnny, let's close out with Anaya Smith to the Eagles. That video that they posted was really nice to see. Some people didn't think he was going to get drafted. I know you thought he was going to get drafted. Your thoughts on him ending up there with Philly?
I think I had him at 160-something, 170-something. He went, I think, at 154, I think it was. So in and around this. This is always the thing about pro days that are interesting. When I went over to pro day, there was one coach. There might have been a couple others, but I saw one coach in particular that I recognized at the pro day. And it was Aaron Moorhead from the Philadelphia Eagles. And you couldn't miss him because he was wearing a Kelly Green sweatshirt. And I just remember I was standing next to Anaya Smith's family up top, and they're not quiet. God love them, but they're not quiet. And so Anais would do some of the wide receiver stuff, and then they would do the running back stuff. And Moorhead was kind of running, especially all the passing game stuff. He was kind of running everything. And so Anais kind of looked up as they started the running back stuff, and his dad was like, "Yes, do it." And it made me laugh because it was exactly what John Harris Sr. would have said to John Harris Jr. Yeah, do it. Show him running back, show him wide receiver, show it all. It's at your pro day. It's the last time you're doing this. Show them everything. And with Aaron Moorhead running the drill, I guarantee you went back, and I guarantee you that was said. That was said in a draft room. Hey, look, this dude loves to compete. He did every single drill, running back and wide receiver, and he's dying. And he's doing every single route from both positions. I guarantee you that got said, and that was one of the reasons that he ended up getting drafted, because the Eagles coach was there to see it all happen. I guarantee you that got mentioned because I mentioned it. And I thought it was a big feather in the cap, outside of the fact that I think it's a great fit. I know they got a lot of receivers in Philadelphia, but they really don't have anybody like him. And I think if Nick Sirianni's offense wants to go to a different level, they're going to find something for Anaya Smith to do during the game. And that's going to make them a much more explosive offense.
Johnny, great stuff as always, man. Thanks so much.
Oh, sorry for the late hookup, buddy. Love you, man. See you.
Hugs. That's my guy, John Harris there, the professor on TexAgs Radio. When we come back, Trisha Ford is in the lobby. She'll be in studio. We'll get to her here in a moment. But that was John Harris. I worked with John back in the day at 1560 The Game and at Sporting News Radio and at Yahoo Sports Radio. So we've been friends for a long time. The guy who put us together is Chance McClain. He also puts people's stories together. That's kind of a weird way to tie it all together, but it is the truth, right? Chance McClain is a storyteller. He's been doing that for a long time. But now he does these documentary films about families, family businesses, family ranches, groups of buddies together, guys that go play golf together, guys that go hunting together. Like, he just loves telling stories, and he does that with a heritage film, a 2-hour documentary that can be done for your family ranch or your family business or just your family overall. We did it for my dad. It was awesome. He can do it for you. It's an awesome process, 8 to 10 weeks, and you'll get yourself a 2-hour documentary. Do it for Father's Day. Do it for Mother's Day. Do it for whatever, right? Like, it's just a cool thing to have for your family to keep that story for generation after generation. You can also do a year flicks, 20 minutes, more reserved for the younger kids out there. That kind of is a benchmark video talking about their life in 20 minutes, Q&A form with a green screen in the background, right? And you can do it and get it done quickly. Chance and his team have been doing it for a long time. The website, yourheritagefilm.com, yourheritagefilm.com, 713-893-8341, 713-893-8341.
You can hear Aggie baseball online at radioaggieland.com. radioaggieland.com.
I'm Sean Burnett with your Aggie Sports Minute on The Zone. This update is brought to you by Hilco Metal Roofing and Supply. Call 936-825-0500 or click hilcosupply.com. Number 1 ranked Texas A&M baseball stayed perfect in midweek games this season as they took down Tarleton last night 10-6 at Bluebell Park. The team recorded its 100th home run of the season in the win, becoming just the second team in program history to accomplish the feat. Head coach Jim Schlossnagle was asked about it after the game.
Yeah, for a while there, I think that's the only way we scored in the game, right? The way we scored runs the first 3 times was all homer. I mean, it's part of obviously you have big, strong players, and wind was blowing a little bit, but all those were hit pretty good. Teddy's was a rocket for sure. That's just part of college baseball. In the SEC, there aren't. I mean, how many teams, have 70 plus homers? Probably a fair amount. And the players are so big and strong, and the bats are different, the balls are different. That's part of the game now.
The 1999 Aggie squad is the only other team to hit 100 home runs. Up next for the Aggies is a 3-game series against LSU on the road. That will
All right, it's TexAgs Radio presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. Trisha Ford is in studio, fresh off the bye week. How are you feeling? Or bye-ish week, I guess. How long did you guys have off?
Yes, well, we take a couple days off and practice, then a couple days off. But we had games last week, Tuesday and Wednesday. So obviously Houston at home, and then we went to Sam Houston.
Right.
So both of those ended up good for the Aggies. So now we're just prepping for Florida.
Well, so what does that do for the body and also for the mind when you're in the middle of a long season and hopefully you're going to be playing a lot longer?
Yeah.
What does that do just to get a little reset?
Yeah, I think it's important for everybody. And it kind of hit at a good time because they're in the middle of finals or getting ready for finals. So get a little reset. We don't take so many days off. I like to keep them moving and, more of a lighter practice, but you want to keep that hand-eye coordination and just those reps and feeling good. So
keeps you sharp, right?
It does. And when you get into the box and you start competing again, you want to feel that comfort still. So we took a couple days off, but then we practiced. Yeah.
So I'm a talk show host, so I bring up things that coaches don't care about. Like I recognize it. I know you care, but you can't care that much. But recognizing in the top 10 in the three polls, just overall, you've got a lot more to do. But it's nice to be recognized.
Yeah, I think it just shows kind of the work that the players have put in, and excited. But yeah, I don't really pay attention to it just because we still have a lot of work to do.
Yeah. The last time we saw some work, Trinity Cannon. I mean,
good Lord, yeah.
The kind of season that she's putting together.
Yeah, she's been a beast. And the thing that I've really been impressed with Trin is, she started off season really hot. And then like every player does, they have a little cool off period and they just start thinking, and Trin did a really good job of refocusing and then has just elevated her game again, and has come up in some big situations. I think that's the other thing that really kind of sets her apart is that senior leadership of when we need a big ball, she's kind of coming through. 13
homers on the year. And last time she played 5 RBI in the game. And I hate to say we get, I don't want to say we get used to it, but like on the guy's side, like Jason Braden, I just kind of expect greatness sometimes.
Absolutely. Those two guys are fun to watch. That lineup is fun to watch. But that's the reason why we have Jazz Hill, Trinity Cannon, and Julia Cottrell and Allie Enright. I mean, those 4 have been, the 4 that have really put up some damage this year, and that's their job. That's, what they're here for, and they're producing at a really high rate.
How about Shaylee and the performance?
Yeah, she did good. Shaylee obviously had a little injury early on in the year, and I think she's bounced back from it. Obviously, this past weekend against Sam Houston came out, did a really good job, just doing what she does. And she's been huge for us just because, lefty Emily Kennedy has done a great, but we can't just have one pitcher in order for us to be where we are today. And Shaylee's been, instrumental in that progress and being able to take game 2 of a series and work through those lineups and throw a lot of, either complete games or deep into the game has really helped us. Yeah.
Championship teams need to have multiple people.
Yeah. Next year we have 4 freshman pitchers coming in, so we'll have a lot.
There we go. Let's talk a little bit about this Florida series. It's season
I know it just blew by, but it's going to be a big one. It's going to be a hard one. Obviously, I do love the fact that we won on the road at Tuscaloosa. I think that kind of sets some things in our heads, in our headspace of what we can and should do. It's 2 top 15 programs going to go at it, and I don't know. It's going to kind of show kind of where we're at, but also it'll help with that standing within conference of kind of what that looks like. So it's a big weekend.
How much do you talk about it or think about what's at stake in the grand scheme of things?
Yeah, we don't. Us upstairs in the coaches' offices, we obviously know, but the players know as well. But talking about it isn't going to really change anything. It's going to be us being able to go out and play Aggie softball. I think if you look at Florida and kind of how their offense works, they have a lot of just athleticism. We're very similar. The top of our lineup has some speed, has some power. I think the biggest thing is us taking away the free bases. If you look at their walks and hit by pitches, those runners, those free bases, they're scoring a lot. And so that's going to be our biggest key is kind of keeping that at a minimum.
In the postseason, what are things that you look for? Is it the clutch hitting? I know you look for it all, but like what's going to determine success in the postseason?
Pitching and defense. It's always going to kind of come down to that. I mean, yes, you're going to always love the long ball, but you're going to face some really good pitching. So you're going to have some times where things aren't kind of lining up. But if you can pitch and stay in a game and, make outs, I think you're going to win a lot of games.
Obviously, you guys are playing great, but how important is it to just stay that same level of sharpness as you head into the postseason?
Yeah, it's going to be vital, to be honest with you. And for a lot of our players, this is kind of new ground, right? New, and so for us, it's just keeping things very same. Very much the same. We are routine people, making sure practice is hard. I think that's what really has helped us in games, is because when games get hard, they can fall back on their training versus rising up to the competition. And so I think, just kind of staying consistent on what has gotten us to this, place, and then making sure that we kind of hit the same areas that have made us successful. So base running, clean defense, and then pitching. What
do you do to mimic game-like atmosphere, and how do you make practice hard?
There's a lot of ways you could do that. But I think for us, like for hitting, we'll set up some machines that are really hard, faster or more movement than what you're going to really see in a game. So then that pitcher, when they throw that kind of repertoire, it looks, much easier to hit. I think defensively, we can get them tired pretty quickly, and then having to put them in some pressure situations when they're physically tired, because being able to kind of hit, how can I be physically tired but still mentally focused? I think great teams understand how to do that, and that's where your Sunday wins come from, right? You're physically tired, but are you mentally tough enough to kind of be able to execute at a high level?
What can you tell me about this Florida team?
Yeah, they're just they're pretty dynamic. Like I said, they're top of their lineup. They have some speed. They have some power. They have 2 freshman pitchers that have done a really good job this year. But I think basically it's going to be not allowing them to get on base for free. So walks, hit by pitch, really kind of minimizing that, and us being able to play clean defense. I think things are going to be in our favor.
What's the mood of the team like right now?
Yeah. They're in a good place. Yeah, they're excited. They love to compete. And so I think heading out on our last road trip, for a regular conference before we start our conference tournament, and that will be in Auburn, I think they're excited. I think they understand now what they're capable of doing. And so now it's that excitement of let's go out and execute and play this game.
Trisha, thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Good luck to you. Right now, when we come back, Pat Henry's going to join us, but we're talking Schulte Roofing, an award-winning roofing company that provides industrial, commercial, and residential services to Belleville, Brenham, to Bryan, to College Station, Conroe, Montgomery, Navasota, San Antonio, and the Woodlands, and obviously the surrounding counties there. They are the home of the Bulletproof Roof Guarantee, the industry's absolute best roofing system, roof installation warranty, and 100% satisfaction guarantee or your money back. They started way back in 1994, and they've been delivering to people in this area for a long, long time. They want to take care of you. You should call them up at 1-800-4ROOF. That number again is 1-800-4ROOF. You can call them directly, 936-825-3690, or go to schulteroofing.com. That's schulteroofing.com, home of the Bulletproof Roof Guarantee. All right, we're back here on TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Time to talk to Coach Pat Henry, brought to you by the Brazos Running Company, your local Aggie-owned specialty running store. Save 10% in store when you mention the code TexAgs10, and check out the new location there at Century Square. Coach Henry, hello, sir.
Yeah, thanks.
How you been?
Thanks for having us in again.
Yes, sir.
I appreciate it.
Was it last week that you weren't able to come in? I think you were traveling last week at this time.
Yeah, I was on my way to Penn Relays.
Okay, so let's talk about that. Eric gave us a little bit of a just kind of understanding historically what it means, but just from your perspective, how big of a meet this is, and obviously the success that followed.
Well, there'll be over 100,000 people watching, and that's significant about the meet, and people or in the stadium. The stadium is full, and so it's a great venue. It's a long meet. But it's 120 years old.
Mm-hmm.
It's been going forever, so it's good for track and field.
And Eric, remind us, what is the you get a wheel? Is that right?
Yeah. So relay teams get a wheel, and then individuals get a watch. And I think the relays get both now, right? The wheel and the watch.
Well, the wheel goes to the institution.
Okay.
If people who don't know what the wheel is, it's about a 3 foot. It's about a 3 foot in diameter trophy, and it makes it hard when you win one where to put it.
Right.
Almost, it's so big. So, but you find a place to put them. So we've been fortunate enough to win some of them, and so it's good for us.
So let's talk about the successes there. The men's 4x800 school record 7:13.98.
Yeah, and that group ran very well. I think our leadoff leg probably had another 3 or 4 seconds in him. He could have. He was more worried about winning the leg than running the time. Had he done what we thought he was going to do, we'd have set a national record, not just a school record. So. Mm-hmm. It's too bad that one got away from us, but all those guys come back next year too, so they'll get another opportunity. You just don't run that thing very often.
I like that.
Yeah.
Also, the 4x400, 3:01.52, third fastest time ever at the Penn relays.
Yeah, that group looked good as well, and the half miler who normally runs on there, it was 30 minutes from the 4x8 to the 4x4, and that's not enough time. So Cutler Zamzo, who's running real well, stepped in and ran fantastic. He just did a tremendous job. Cutler is a guy that now we can really depend on to do some things for that group. And as we move forward, you can't go in and run a relay with only 4 people. You have to be 100% healthy, and very seldom we're all 4. So you got to have 5 or 6 guys.
In a few minutes, we're going to get to talk to Kenny Fontenot, but she broke the school record in the 3,000 steeplechase.
Yeah, and I would like for those two to come in here. Julia Abel is one of my new assistants, and she was the school record holder in the steeplechase, and Wendell McRaven coached her, and now Kennedy is being coached by both of them, and Kennedy just broke her record. So I wanted those 3 to come in and talk to you.
Yeah, we'll talk to them here momentarily.
Yeah.
And so here's a little note that I was provided by Sam.
Uh-oh.
So, Coach Henry, you now have 28 Penn relay titles while coaching at A&M, and 66 over your head coaching career.
Yeah, I've had some great athletes, and we've won a lot of things at Penn. And we haven't gone to Penn. We had a few years we did not go to Penn. The SEC was trying to have some meets on campus with 4 or 5 teams from around the conference, which that's what we should be doing, and people don't want to do it, so it's too bad.
So both the men and women in the top 5, men ranked number 2, women ranked number 4, continuing to be on a very high trajectory.
Yeah, and as everybody knows, paper is paper, talk's talk. You got to do it when it counts, and that's what we're preparing to do.
So next week, the SEC's 3-day meet there in Gainesville. Just thoughts on heading there to Gainesville?
Yeah, we're excited about it. We last time we were in Gainesville, we had a great meet, and this group just seems to get a little bit better as we go, and that's what I'm really proud about this team this year is that ability to continue to improve, and that means you have to put yourself out on a limb. You got to go into territory you hadn't been before, and so that's always fun to watch.
Is there something in particular that the viewer needs to watch out for?
You got to be hitting on all cylinders.
Yeah.
You know, if you have to have, everybody's got to have a good day on the same day. That's one thing we try to preach. And everybody's got to do well, or you know, the group can't succeed if we have some letdowns. And so that's the goal, is to try to go in there and everybody have a good day. And that's very, very difficult. But I think that's what the strength of this group. That's what I'm proud about this group, is that we've been fortunate enough that we're healthy, first of all. So that means they train right. And this is a fun time of the year. This is when it starts counting.
Let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Eric Casares, I know you got a couple of questions for Coach.
Yeah, Coach Henry. So first of all, starting off with Sam Whitmarsh. Big weekend for him.
He's been in studio a couple times over the last week. He's great.
Yeah, we got him in a couple weeks ago, 4x800 and then DMR. What can you say about his performance this weekend, and also having to get out of his comfort zone a little bit? Of course, he anchored the DMR and then going to the 4x8 a day after.
And on the DMR, I think if we could run it tomorrow, we'd win it. But he just hasn't run any miles. Very seldom has. I mean, I think that was the second mile that he's ever run in competition. So to do as well as he did, we were pleased with it, although we think there's a lot more in the tank. But on the 4x8, he ran 145 flat, 145.0, and just ran a tremendous leg. And the rest of the guys put him in a position to be successful on the end of that. But Sam's tough. Sam's running real well right now.
Yeah, and championship season brings a lot of type of racing that you maybe not see often. You get a lot of more tactical, bunched in a pack, being ready to go when it matters. Yeah. So my question to you is, is there a way to implement that in training that your athletes can execute it on race days, or is it something that just naturally happens and someone just learns from it?
Well, I think some group runs on the track where you're running some fast things on the track, you learn how to do some of that stuff, and you have to race. You can't run in a line, as you know. It's about racing. And you can't, Saturday's always different than Wednesday. Wednesday's a training day. The weekdays are training days, and Saturday, different things happen for different people. People are different when competition starts, so it's a difficult time to try to implement and practice. We don't ever run 100 meters in practice for time. We don't ever run 400 meters in practice for time. That's done during competition. That's done when it counts.
Coach Henry, I sound like a broken record here, but we've talked about it in the past. It's going to be apparent coming up. The quality of the SEC, it's a championship in its own.
No, it's almost the national championship itself. If you look at the rankings right now, the SEC dominates the rankings, and so. Yeah, that's what makes this conference so good, and that's what is everybody wants to win. Everybody wants to win in the conference. Yep. There's everybody does what it takes to try to be successful, and this is an important sport in our conference, so it's fun to be there.
Coach Henry, thank you so much.
Yeah, no, thank you very much. I'm interested to listen to these next three talks.
Yeah, we'll have Wendell McRaven, Julia Abel, and Kennedy Fontenot in studio next. This interview, though, brought to you by the Brazos Running Company. We'll be back in 2 and 2 with our track spotlight brought to you by Schulte Roofing. Welcome back into TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. Time for the Track Program Spotlight, brought to you by Schulte Roofing. Schulte Roofing is an award-winning roofing company that provides industrial, commercial, and residential services to Belleville, Brenham, Bryan, College Station, Montgomery, and Navasota. They are home of the Bulletproof Roof Guarantee. And with that, we've got a lot of great guests here in studio. Wendell McCraven, how are you, sir?
I'm doing great, thank you.
Great to see you. We've got Julia Abel. Hello.
Hi.
New position since the last time we saw you. You're an assistant coach now.
Yes.
Loving it?
Yeah, loving it.
And Kennedy Fontenot, who had a great weekend. Coach Henry and I were just talking about it. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
So let's start off with your new role. Okay, like how different is it? Because like you're friends with Eric, you know him, and now you're like his boss. So like how cool is that talk about the transition for you.
Yeah, it's been really fun. And as far as like Eric and some of the older ones go, like I don't try to boss them around, tell them what to do for sure, because I don't want to ruin that friendship that we did have. But as far as like some of the younger ones, again, not ever like in a bossy role, but Coach McRaven doesn't treat us like that either. So I kind of saw his leadership in that and kind of more coach from an educational standpoint, like a teaching standpoint of, hey, this is what worked for me. Maybe you should try something like this.
Coach, how about for you? It's been a really good year for long distance, cross country, obviously, and what we're seeing right now.
Yeah, it's been a fun year. I mean, I think Coach Abel has played a significant role in that. You know, she's made a great transition from being a student athlete to being a coach. Has been a pretty seamless transition for the most part. And yeah, it's been fun seeing the progress of our group. I think I looked at in our all-time top 10 list this year in the distance events, every single event we've had additions to. In fact, everything except the women's 1500, I think we've had a top 5 mark this year. So heading into the postseason, ready to roll. And Kennedy's one of the athletes leading that charge.
Kennedy, let's see if I have this right.
Okay.
So Coach McRaven coached Julia.
Yes.
Who coaches you. So it's like circle, and then you broke her record this past weekend. And I got this right?
Yes.
Let's talk about that. How cool was that? Was that hard for you, by the way?
I mean, she worked hard. She did great.
She
like,
deserved
obviously, it's bittersweet, but like she earned it.
How was it?
No, it's good. I think it's been like, I mean, last year, like Julia was my teammate, so it's been like kind of a different transition, but it's been nice, like having someone very close to like my age and also having like a female on staff that can relate to like the women's team. And I think that's really like, I mean, you can kind of just see the improvements that it's had in our program, like on the women's side at least. Like we've had such a great year, and I think that has to do with it.
Can you feel that you're trending in that direction? Like, did you have any idea, like, I might break some records this weekend?
Okay, after I did the steeple the first time, I was like, okay, it's a possibility. But before I ran that race, like, that was, like, at least in my head, like, I did not expect that at all this season.
Right.
I was just excited to try a new event and just try to get a little bit faster, and it's really worked out. Yeah.
Coach McRaven, just the overall talent that you have this year, and I mean, obviously the success has followed with it.
Yeah, I mean, we've got a great group. I mean, we've got, we brought Coach Ehring onto the staff, Coach Paul Ehring on the staff from UTEP.
Mm-hmm.
One of the cool things is that we were very fortunate that Victor Kibiego, who was third in the NCAA last year in the steeplechase, decided they wanted to follow Coach Ehring. So we've added a elite steeplechaser on the men's side. Kennedy's developed into an elite steeplechaser on the women's side. I mean, I think she's 25th in the country right now. And, then, Cooper Cawthor is obviously in the 1500. Eric in the in the 5K, he's our school record holder in the 5K. We've got a whole group of Maddie Brown moved up to, I think, number 4 all time in the 10K this year. So we've got a whole group of people that are going into the SEC meet and then going into the NCAA first round meet with legit chances of not only scoring big points at the SEC meet, but hopefully advancing on to the national championship.
Let's talk about Gainesville coming up and just the mindset overall for the team, and everybody can speak up to this. Let's start off with you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited. I think it'll be good for us to go run in Gainesville. The weather's pretty similar to as here, so like I don't think it's going to be out of our comfort zone there. And I mean, time-wise, I think we rank up pretty well in each of our respective events, and I think the distance side, and I know all the other events as well, but distance side for sure, like we can score some points this year and really contribute to the team score, and I think that's going to really improve our team score at SECs this year.
Julia?
Yeah, it's just to echo Kennedy here. It's really exciting to see that development. And back to an earlier question you had of, like, could she see that she was trending that way, something big was going to happen? That's what we've been talking about as far as the team in general. Like, some people said, wow, you guys kind of came out of nowhere and qualified for nationals. And we just laughed because we're like, that was not out of nowhere. Like, if you were on the team or on the coaching staff, you could see it for years. Like, we knew that was coming. It didn't happen the last couple years, but it was no surprise when it happened. And so that's kind of the trend for the whole track team. But then especially like what Kennedy said, we're just kind of ready to see what some people can do. Like, Eric's right on the verge. He's been super consistent, super healthy. He's right on the verge of something big. Like, several of them are. And so it's exciting to see all that work over the last couple weeks, but years and months really pay off this weekend.
Any final thoughts on that?
Well, I think kind of the cool thing is the way Coach Henry builds the program and the way his mindset is. Like, we go to into the championship season. It's just another step along the way. When I remember after maybe my second year at A&M, I had a coach come up to me and say, "Hey, tell me about what you're doing, man. Your kids are really running well." And I'm like, you need to go talk to Coach Henry because it has nothing to do with the X's and O's, because all my friends in the coaching world know how I coach. It's all about kind of the culture and the environment and the expectations.
Coach McRaven, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I'll wear my Aura ring next time,
Okay,
right?
all right.
I know we got that in common. Julia and Kennedy, thanks so much for coming by. I appreciate you guys.
Thank you. Thank you.
When we come back on TexAgs Radio, a little recruiting country, Jason Howell going to be joining us. We'll chit-chat about all things happening in that world, that and more. It's TexAgs Radio. All right, we're back here on TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers here in the Rollo Insurance Studio. Appreciate everybody listening in. It's time now for Recruiting Country, presented by Caprock Health System, a faster patient-centered revolution in care. They got 2 ERs in the Bryan College Station area, the original 24-hour ER in South College Station on William D. Fitch, and you've got the full-service hospital with ER in Bryan on Briarcrest. Online, caprockhealthsystem.com. Let's go to the hotline. We are joined by Jason Howell here on TexAgs Radio. Jason, good morning, buddy.
Hey, glad to be on.
What's up, man? How you been?
I've been good. Got Foo Fighters tonight, so I'm excited about that. Yeah, man, just making these visits, trying to keep up with these coaches that have hit the road since the end of spring.
So we've had a couple of content meetings, and your name comes up because whenever the NFL draft comes around, you are so good at providing some thoughts because you've covered just about every kid who ever played high school ball in the state of Texas and beyond. How cool is it for you to watch when you are talking about some of these guys?
Man, it is it's one of my favorite days of the year. I've just always been a draft nut, growing up, and now having knowledge of a lot of these guys, and I've got my own spreadsheet with like data that goes back to the 60s, to the first years of the draft, and all the little different state statistics and all that kind of stuff. But seeing these guys kind of grow and progress, seeing a guy like Brandon Williams, who was a no-star out of Denton High School, had to go to the JC route, and then blossom into a player at TCU and then going to the NFL. I mean, that's a guy that you saw the potential there. There wasn't a whole lot on film coming out of high school, but to see it fully recognized, and it's it's fun to watch, especially those journeys, as much as the 5 stars that you knew were going to be special coming right out of high school.
I'm talking to Jason Howell here on TexAgs Radio. Let's talk about offensive line recruiting, something that they got to get it right in the future. They've gotten it right in the past. They got a rich history there.
Yeah, and I wanted to highlight a few things in my recent article that, hey, A&M is still leading the Texas college scene in, offensive line draft picks. I think in the last 5 years, 3 have been selected. Only TCU's right there, and everybody else is, is vying for second. So, and then over the last, decade, since 2012, they've produced 5 or 6. I can't even get my stats right, but they've produced far and away more than anybody. Nobody else has even put a offensive lineman in the first round, and then to bring a guy like Coach Cushing and what he's building and the resume he's building. He was instrumental in Rashawn Slater out of Northwestern. He just had a first-round draft pick in this last draft out of Duke, and had another one selected in the 5th round. And just what he's been able to do on the recruiting front with A&M's history combined with what he brings to the table, it's a pretty special mix, and you've seen it come to fruition with a monster haul in April, where in 1 week he had 4 new additions, 1 via the transfer portal and 3 from the Texas high school ranks. So, and they're right in the mix for a number of guys, Ty Haywood, Michael Fasusi, Lamont Rodgers, Andrew Babalola. They've got some guys that they're really hot and heavy on, and it's looking like it's going to be a pretty big haul, looking like about 6, give or take a few. I mean, 5 to 7, if you will, if you want to play with the numbers. We'll see what happens, but it's looking like it's going to be a really strong quality group, and they've done a good job of getting guys that are, versatile up front, They can play multiple positions, multiple different, multiple sides, come from really good programs, a lot of athleticism. And, it's an exciting time to watch them build an offensive line.
Talking to Jason Howell here on TexAgs Radio. I'm glad you brought up Adam Cushing because that was an area of concern, right? The last few years, the development wasn't there, and they were able to recruit at a high level. But just the buzz you're hearing about Cushing, the way he's relating to players, and his ability to recruit is really changing the way people are looking at this program again.
Yeah, and one thing you hear with not just Coach Cushing, but throughout the staff is they know how to speak different languages. And I think Bronny's talked about it a few different times, but they're not just, they don't have this is my way or the highway. You either hear it or you don't. If you don't understand it, they're going to try and break through and figure out a way to get their point across and answer the questions that you need answered and communicate it in a way that you hear and understand. And that's the one thing I hear consistently, especially on the offensive line, is how he answers the questions, how he handles his meetings, how he holds everyone accountable. But, everybody seems to love his coaching style and the way he dives in and really gets in depth. I think it was Drew Evers. I just talked to him yesterday, and he was talking about how he has conversations with, Coach Cushing. And one of the more recent ones was, hey, what are you working on this spring? Here's some things that you need to try and do. What are your goals? Okay, here's some tips. And then he said, I went out and put it to work, and I've noticed a lot of difference. So these guys are taking what they're learning at A&M and implementing it on their own, and it's paying some pretty big dividends. And that's the kind of thing that a guy remembers. It sticks with them, and it elevates Coach Cushing. It elevates A&M, and it's a great thing for the recruiting process.
Talking to Jason Howell here on TexAgs Radio. Jason, is there a type of personality on the offensive line that maybe they're gravitating to now, or is there like a particular style? Obviously, they want as much talent as possible, but maybe something about the way they play the game that kind of interests this staff?
Well, Connor Carty, when he committed, said Coach Elko said he loves the guy. You get guys, sometimes they look the part, they look real pretty, and but his favorites are the ones that, may not pass the beauty contest, but they sure as heck get out there and they block somebody into the dirt. And that's pretty much what they're looking for. They're looking for guys who get the job done. Who cares about the aesthetics? Obviously you want those guys with the length and all that stuff. You want the prototypical tackles and everything, but you want guys who know how to get dirty and nasty. And I don't know if that's necessarily new. I mean, Chase Basantis, TJ Shanahan, those are some pretty nasty dudes. Trey Zune, I mean, those are some dudes that, coming out of high school, you knew they had a particular mentality to them. But you do see definitely they're paying very close attention to that. And they want those guys who are going to be out there working, ready to work and compete. And I think that's throughout the whole roster. You see that, I think with this last commitment, Jamar Bill Goins, he talked about, I'm ready to get out there and hit the field because I know, because they told me, if you're the best player, you're going to play, and we come here to compete. And he goes, I'm ready to come in there and get my job. So that's the kind of mentality they've really been trying to implement. You see it this spring. You see it in their messaging to the recruits. And, I think it's resonated because those guys come in, they see practice, and they see that it's a real message. It's not just some, a coach speak, if you will.
Jason, I definitely want to go back to Bill Goins, but let's just close up with the offensive line and Layden Robinson getting drafted. Just some thoughts there, because you saw this guy play. He did it at A&M, and it's just continuing to churn out some talent to the next level.
Yeah, I remember when he first broke on the scene out of Houston. and really didn't have a whole lot of offers. I want to say it was at least February of his junior year, so before his senior season, that he started to really pick up steam on the recruiting front. But one thing everybody always talked about, and you saw it at A&M, was how powerful and strong he was. And it immediately, I think it was at an A&M camp when he picked up his offer, and he wanted to be an Aggie. He knew he was an Aggie, and he committed pretty much right on the spot, or at least knew he was going to. So it's been fun to watch his journey and to see him go to the Patriots and have a chance to be part of a rebuild there. It's going to be pretty fun to watch.
Jason, since mid-April, April the 14th, 3 offensive linemen have committed. 1 quarterback has committed, and obviously the cornerback that we just spoke about a moment ago and Beal's going. So overall, recruiting seems to be going in the right direction, up, and up.
Yeah, they've got some momentum going, and I think some of it kind of coincides with the portal, just as they, see more of what their needs are and going to be into the future. Obviously, these guys aren't going to be on the roster for the 24 season, but you know what you have, you know what you need beyond 24, a little clearer, with the spring window closing, and having those guys, I think it's kind of helped them make some. Not that they were on the fence with any of these guys. I think pretty much all of them were pretty high priorities, but it's also clarified their picture a little bit moving forward.
Talking to Jason Howell here on TexAgs Radio. All right, so now we've talked about him, but what kind of player are the Aggies getting there with the Arizona cornerback Beal's goings?
I mean, I think you guys have talked about it the last few days, and the 10-4 300-meter, the 21-4 whatever it is, 200, 4.29, 40. He has all the athleticism. He has all the tools. And, his coach, the first thing he brought up was, his leadership qualities and what he brings off the field, the competitive nature he brings to the table. And, this isn't a track guy. This is a guy that football coaches saw his speed and said, you're going to help us out in track. So this is a football guy who likes to get physical. He's got great cover ability. And I think it says a lot that Coach Peterson, who's recruited that school very hard over the last several years and actually signed several from that area to Kansas over the years, it says a lot that he didn't hesitate when he got to A&M to say, this is the guy. We need to go get this guy out of Arizona and get him on a visit and make him a top priority. And that relationship that he had established long ago before coaching at A&M was even a thought really helped pay off for the Aggies in this one.
So I'm looking at some of the numbers that Bronny put into his article. He clocked a sub 4.3 40-yard dash and a 10.4 100-meter dash, has the recorded vertical north of 40 inches and a broad jump of 11.5.
42 and a half vertical, and that is a 4.29 laser-timed 40. So these are, 6 foot, 175 pounds. This guy can go. He brings a ton of speed to the table, but he's not just speed. Like I said, I want to emphasize that he is definitely a physical ball player that will knock your head off.
And also, you combine him with Dejon Petaway next year. Getting some talent, some much-needed talent back there.
No doubt. And, you look, it was just announced Kobe Sellers is named his top 3. So Texas A&M, and Oklahoma. I think he's announcing on the 11th. So we'll see what happens there. But A&M's in the mix for another, top flight defensive back. Could see another addition there. You're talking about another guy who brings a ton of speed. I want to say he ran a 4.49 as a sophomore, and last year spent a lot of time mainly at quarterback for Shadow Creek because he's such a dynamic, versatile athlete. But as a cornerback, you got to love having potentially having a skill set like that.
Yeah, no doubt. Talking to Jason Howell here on TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, so in the Rollo Insurance Studio. Yesterday, the portal closes to put your name into the portal. I didn't really Did any names pop out that maybe A&M could have interest in? Because I know obviously wide receiver is still a possibility of adding, and they're trying to add anywhere they can get better.
I'll be honest, there's not a whole lot that I was like, oh, man, they got to get after this guy. This guy's going to be a target. The one guy that, keeping an eye on is Auburn receiver. He's coming in on a visit. He's already visited, I think UCF, Michigan State, and Arizona. Javarius Johnson, 5'10", 170 pounds, originally out of Trussville, or out of Alabama, over 1,000 yards over the course of his career at Auburn, and just known as a speed guy. Last year he had over 18 yards of reception for the Tigers. So, I mean, the guy, you watch his highlights, you see he can bring a spark plug to any offense, kind of a guy that's more, a jet sweep screen game guy, or a guy that you send over the top. But he can get gone in a hurry and bring an added speed dimension to a lot of offenses. So that's a guy to keep an eye on out of the portal at this time. And of course, we'll continue. There could be new names that pop up that are already in the portal, and I know they're probably over there in Bright, continuing to evaluate and both the roster and the needs and what's out there. So it wouldn't surprise me to see a few names pop up over the next few months. But that one's the one right now that we continue to hear as a serious option.
All right, Jason, you stay right there. We're going to put you on hold. We'll come back with more. And if you have a question for Jason, you can do that at 979-693-1150. Text that question out there. We'll try to ask it to him here in the last segment of Recruiting Country. Plus, you can also do it on the YouTube page, and hopefully you'll become a subscriber, or you can absolutely do it on TexAgs.com with the chat there. Right now, we're talking Milliken Reserve, a farm-to-table community in College Station. They got homes, they got trails, they got wide open spaces, and their mission to build a healthy community around nature. They've done that by creating a sanctuary for family, for nature, and for each other with those 2,600 acres of beautiful open space. Such a cool place to go. The farms that are out there, the 30 miles of trails, a wonderful place to go hang out. Lots of times we go get our veggies there, guys. They have veggies there. Go get them, right? They're delicious, and they're so fresh out there. They have an extensive network of trails throughout a beautiful wooded landscape, and you can go check out the walking and the equestrian paths, the creeks, the ponds, the gathering areas. They're committed to maintaining and restoring that natural habitat. So when you go to Milliken Reserve, don't be surprised when you see the deer out there, the songbirds, the rabbits, the turtles. And again, homeowners at Milliken Reserve sharing a legacy of conservation, which means generation after generation, you're coming back to that pristine countryside place there. It is a place to explore and to discover and to do it as a family out there. The website is millikenreserve.com. Again, that website, millikenreserve.com. Go check it out. All right, we're back here on TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. It is Recruiting Country, brought to you by Caprock Health System. We return to the hotline. Jason Howell is here to continue doing a little recruiting talk. If you want to text the show, you can do that at 979-693-1150. All right, let's talk a little bit about Drew Everts, the Flower Mound offensive lineman. What's the latest with him?
Yeah, he was recently visited by the Texas A&M coaches. There's contact rules and everything, but they were out there checking in, checking around the school, watching a little practice, all that kind of stuff, showing their face, letting them know they're hanging around. So, but he's been reeling in offers. He picked up Oregon yesterday. He's his most recent one, but he's looking at hitting the camps this summer. Obviously, he's looking at getting out of state more because he's focused more in state over the last year or so, and so he wants to check out some of the Georgias, Ohio States, Michigans, potentially get out to Oregon, all that. But he really had a lot of great things to say about A&M. Obviously, some strong family connections there with both parents going to A&M, and the coaching staff has done a great job of letting him know how much he is wanted, and Coach Cushing's done a great job developing that relationship, like we mentioned before. Just not just talking football, but getting some of those football insights in there as well. But it's about life and showing how much you care, and he's done a great job at that.
You mentioned him earlier, but the offensive lineman Michael Fasusi, that out of Louisville, give us some intel there.
Yeah, he was just at Colorado this past weekend, and he's gearing up for his official visits. He'll be at Texas A&M for his official June 6th. And A&M is right there in the middle of that with Texas, Colorado, Oregon, Missouri. There's quite a few in there for him, but he was in College Station 3 times this spring, which speaks very that says a lot about his interest in the Aggies, and just continues to speak glowingly about Coach Cushing, Coach Elko, and the direction he sees that A&M's taking under this new coaching staff. And he's gotten to know a lot of those guys, Coach Cushing and Elko, since they were at Duke. They were, I want to say, his third offer. When he was I think a sophomore. They've done a great job there. He has also a pretty strong relationship with Joe Hamilton, who's now over in a recruiting role at A&M. Came over from Florida, but Joe's originally from the Louisville area, so they have a lot in common, and they definitely have connected very well there. The Aggies continue to work that one hard. A lot of competition, and but they definitely maneuvered their way up the list.
Let's move on to Khalil Lockett, the wide receiver out of Saxe.
Yeah, Khalil is he's a dude, man. He I don't know if you saw any of the clips I put out, but he is smooth. And there was one where they're kind of doing a little swing pass, and the coach thinks he's sailed it over his head, and he just reaches up real casually with one arm and brings it in, and you hear a "Ooh, okay, my bad," kind of thing. But A&M, LSU, Texas, very much in the mix there. He's got 4 official visits scheduled, USC being one of them. It doesn't have an official schedule to A&M, but I look for that to happen. So we'll see how it all works out. But A&M, we've talked about it before. He has a long history with A&M. I think his grandmother was a student advisor in the math department, but she worked with the Von Millers with the athletic department and the academic side of things, and definitely he was around the program growing up, has a lot of memories, and he has a very strong connection with Coach Wiggins, who now at A&M, and has really liked what he's seen and what they're trying to do. So the Aggies are very much in the mix, and I'd put him up there towards the top of his list, and I expect to see the Aggies get an official there.
So this note that you sent me caught my attention. Frisco Lone Star, there's 5 offers there, 3 in 2026. So they're active out there, aren't they?
Yeah, I actually went out there last week, and I didn't get to see 2 of the guys. One is a 25 receiver that just got that has been offered. He's got an official visit scheduled. Hasn't been to A&M yet. So whenever he takes his official, that'll be his first time on campus. The Aggies. Yeah, I'll be honest. I don't have a great feel for Byron, and just kind of where his recruitment is, if he's leaning one way or the other. But A&M's right in there with him on, and they're getting him on a visit, and we'll see what happens there. So, they also offered in 26 Jordan Deck and Ryder Mix. Deck is a safety who moved from receiver, and he has blown out this spring. Took his first visit to A&M for the spring game. Absolutely loved it. Coach Ish did a phenomenal job, really connecting, and you could tell just talking to him, A&M's really shot up his list. Ryder Mix, 26 tight end, 6'4", 225, very versatile weapon, and he's pulled in offers from across the country. I want to say Ohio State was one of his recent offers, and he's got them from just about everywhere. But he visited A&M twice in the spring, and Coach Ellsworth has done a great job. He's kind of over the tight ends, and he's done a phenomenal job really connecting with Ryder and his family. And they just offered 2 more. Davion Gross, a 26 athlete, plays running back and receiver. He's focusing a lot more on receiver, and last year he was phenomenal at both. 6'2", 190 pounds, and he just when you go back and watch the tape, he was such a clutch performer for Lone Star, and has been one of their bigger playmakers since his freshman year. And getting in the mix there, I think. I'll be honest. That's one I've been, kind of saying on the boards. This is a guy I would offer. This is a guy that I feel like A&M needs to get on. So it was good to see them jump on the board there. And he tweeted out his offer, and it's a dream school. So he's really high on the Aggies right off the bat, and we'll see where the recruiting process takes it. But he's got offers from across the country, and Carice Hoyt is a quarterback who played a lot of receiver last year in the 2027 class. He was district newcomer of the year, but he's pulling in offers left and right. 6'2", 200 pounds, and he brings a lot of athleticism to the table. But he's very much a quarterback, and he's going to be one of the top quarterbacks in the state in 2027. So. Gotta keep an eye on out there, and A&M jumps in the mix early.
Jason, for the good guys, who's going to be the next guy to commit to Texas A&M?
Right now, there's a lot of guys I think they're in great spots for, and with Sellers having a commitment date set. I think A&M's in a good spot there, and I think we can see that he's got something on his mind. So I tend to lean towards Sellers, but it wouldn't surprise me to see something happen between now and then with a number of guys. They're like I said, they're in really good positions for guys like DJ Sanders, Zion Williams. They've been in a good spot for Max Granville. there's a number of options out there, but Sellers is the one that I feel like they're in a good spot, and he's got a decision date that's a little over a week away, so we'll see.
Jason, great stuff, man. Thanks so much for making time. We'll talk to you soon.
Always a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Later, buddy. Jason Howell there on the hotline. Appreciate his time. When we come back on TexAgs Radio, it's Kendall Rogers. Some baseball to get into. I think there's a pretty good baseball team here in the city, in this area. I think there's a pretty good softball team. I think a pretty good women's golf team, pretty good. Men's golf, yeah. Women's tennis, yeah. Men's tennis, yeah. Got a lot of good things going on, track and field. So we'll get into the next segment, though, focused on baseball. Right now, Hush and Whisper, you got to go check it out. I'm telling you, this place is cool. Look, this is not a shot at our area. It just doesn't feel like you're in College Station or in Bryan when you're in that area, right? It feels different. I don't know. It's like it's kind of just a classy, cool. Not that everything else in this town is classy and cool, but it just feels different, right? When you go there, kind of an old school 50s vibe to it. Briscoe building there. It's an awesome place to go. Just hang out, have your spirits, have your cocktails, and just have a good old time there. They defy convention and distill true grain to glass spirits out there. Located there at the Briscoe building in downtown Bryan, where I started my radio career there at Power 94, the only station that gives a jam. White whiskey, original vodka, original gin, you name it. They source only the finest local ingredients, committed to the highest quality production at Hush and Whisper. And it's a place where you can enjoy a cocktail crafted with premium local spirits, but that Hush and Whisper exists to inspire moments of discovery. They want you to really experience the moment out there. They had this awesome tour that I did, and I had a fabulous time. I don't even drink, guys, and it was just like I wanted more information. I didn't want it to end. It's just a cool team-building time, cool time to just hang out with friends, especially out-of-towners that are in town out there. They offer the wine tasting to show you the nuance of flavors out there. And it's not just spirits for shooting, right? You don't want to you want to take your time. Enjoy the process. You'll learn about the Kentucky Chew to prepare your talent. So reserve a tour and a tasting, or just a tasting. Book an event for meetings, celebrations, team building. Come in for a cocktail, buy a bottle, experience it at home. You got gin, you got vodka, you got white whiskey. It is there at the Verisco building. Hours are Thursday through Saturday, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., 219 North Main Street. It is Hush and Whisper Distilling Company. D1 Baseball is where it's at. It's TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. Let's go to the hotline, talk a little Aggie baseball, SEC baseball, college baseball in general with Kendall Rogers here on the program. Kendall, good morning, buddy. How you been?
I'm doing terrific. How about yourself?
I'm doing good. Hey, did you hear that in the background? Did you hear what that was?
That was pretty good.
That was another, no, not the song.
It was a great song.
No, yeah, I mean, sure. No.
Oh, I didn't hear the other.
No, listen, ready? Yep, there's another one. Aggies just hit another home run. I don't know if you heard that, but yeah, they just hit another home run. That's called a cheesy joke that I do on this show often. How about that offense, man?
Okay. Well, yeah, I tell you what, I don't think I've ever seen, I was talking on the radio show yesterday about this, but I don't think I've ever seen a team get down 9-0 in the first inning and run rule a team. Honestly, I can't even count how many baseball games I've watched in my life, and I don't think I've ever seen that. I think that game told us a lot just about this team in general, and I'm not saying just the way they scored that many runs. Honestly, had they lost the game, it probably would have showed a lot. But the fact that you get down, and especially the game one of a doubleheader, you get down 9-0, and not only do you come back, but I mean you essentially equalize the game the next time you go up to bat. And then you overwhelm that team the rest of the way. I mean, number one, just coming back in that game in general would be impressive. Would kind of show you, kind of take a peek behind the curtain in terms of the psyche of this team. But the other thing is just the killer instinct that this team has once they kind of feel it, so to speak. So, I think when you look at this A&M team, I've said it again, or I've said it plenty of times. I'll say it again. I feel like this is a team that you really, really have to play excellent baseball against, or they have to play really bad for you to beat them. And I think if you look at A&M in the final game, what's really funny about that is, offensively, I didn't think they played a very good game in the final game. But what happens? Justin Lincoln goes out and throws really well. So, any game that A&M loses this year is actually an outcome as a part of that game that is actually a good thing. So it's very strange. It's a great thing for A&M. But you lose a game, then you're all of a sudden okay, Justin Lincoln's back to normal. So this team's in a really good spot, to say the least.
So I was going back and forth with Bronny on text, and he brought up a couple things for me to consider. Yesterday's game, no Gavin Grohovic for obvious reasons. Hopefully he'll be fine for the LSU series. Braden Montgomery goes 0 for 5, has an error out there. Jackson Appel, 1 of 5. You've got Isaac Morton, who just was, okay. You had Weston Moss, who struggled a little bit. Peyton Smith allowed a couple of runs out there. Yet the Aggies still won, and they scored 10 runs.
Yeah, I mean, they scored 10 runs, and you're basically you're basically able to take guys off the bench and put them out there, and you're not really worried about losing. At one point they were up 9-2, 9-3, something like that. So I mean, they're just in a really good spot. I think when you look at the team the rest of the way, I mean, at this point, we all know how good they are. So at this point, it's kind of okay, the rest of the way, what could be better? Chris Cortez obviously got touched a little bit over the weekend. It was a short outing, but I mean, he got touched a little bit. Tanner Jones got hit pretty hard. But I mean, I would argue that almost like an outing where he was tipping his pitches quite a bit. When somebody's on you that much, where every single swing, every single bit of contact is that hard, that tells you they might have your pitches. And there's nothing remotely sketchy about that. Literally every team in college baseball does that. But that kind of outing looked like that to me. So I'm curious to see how he looks this weekend, see if he looks any different.
We're talking some baseball here with Kendall Rogers on TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. Let's talk Teddy Burton, who's been on this hot streak, 5 homers, 4 games.
Yeah.
He basically, he had 4 entering this little stretch that he's been on, and we knew he'd eventually get hot.
And he had 4 over the weekend, right?
Yes, yeah. And then he hit another one yesterday.
Yeah, it's crazy. And I mean, the thing about it, and this is where I feel a lot of people just give Jim the credit for this, but I had Nolan came to this mix. I mean, when Nolan went out and started kind of scurrying the transfer portal, he went after the right guys. He went after guys that had a lot of experience. We think back to the impact that Dylan Rock had on this program a couple of years ago, and they went after kind of the same mold, guys who were accomplished at other places, maybe not the SEC, but were accomplished at other places, had a lot of at-bats, had a lot of ups and downs in their respective programs, and that is kind of what Teddy Burton was. And you look back at his numbers last year at Michigan, they were pretty good. I mean, they weren't they weren't incredible, but they were pretty good. And it's a guy that's got several hundred at bats in college baseball. And so, again, I go back to this lineup, and we talked so much about how good those guys at the top are for great reason. But, once again, you're looking at Appel, you're looking at, Teddy Burton. I know he's a young player, but, the emergence of Caden Sorrell, becoming a premier player. You're looking at a lineup now that does not have a weakness. You could argue that the 9-hole is still kind of a weakness, but I really like Chestnut out there, so I don't really consider that like a weakness anymore. So this lineup is loaded, man.
Talking to Kendall Rogers here. Hey, so obviously by now you've commented on it. You've seen the video, the Georgia pitcher in the bullpen. Have you heard anything from the SEC? Are they investigating? Is anything going to happen from that, or is it just one of those things that we're going to move on from?
I think they'll take this kind of stuff. I don't think you can do anything without proof. It looks obviously outrageously damning, to say the least. But, you don't have proof that actually happened. So I think what will happen moving forward, I think he in particular will obviously be watched. I have heard kind of rumblings behind the scenes that the NCAA is tinkering around with the idea of actually doing the MLB rule where they actually check pitchers during the regional. I will say this, though. I think you look back, if you're the NCAA, you look back to last year, different scenario. But you look back to last year when they ejected Ken Canarella, when they had basically the zero tolerance policy on unsportsmanlike conduct, and they ejected Ken Canarella for Clemson in that Tennessee game, and Clemson ends up losing the regional because he got ejected. What I don't think NCAA wants is for an umpire, even though he's fully in the right, to be ejecting a pitcher in the ninth inning of a regional championship game. Now, the onus is on the pitcher not to do that, right? But I don't think they want to be put in that position. So I think there will be kind of a system put in place to prevent that. But at this point, I haven't heard anything concrete on whether or not they're doing anything in the Maracna. My guess is they'll just kind of keep an eye on him and probably send a memo. They'll start with memos, and then they'll go from there. If they feel like they need to do more, they will. But, let's be very honest here. I don't think Christian Maracna is the first guy in the SEC to do this. I'm guessing that a lot of pitchers are probably doing this, maybe not to that extent and that blatantly. That's the biggest thing for me, is how stupidly blatant it was. But, I have no doubt the SEC will take a look at this. The question is, will they do it, in the next 2 weeks? Or, will the NCAA kind of, take charge for the postseason?
Charlie Condon hit number 30 yesterday. Kid's having a special season, man.
Dude, the most impressive hit he had all weekend, I thought, in the games that I watched, was his foul ball that landed on the balcony of the rec center. That was the most impressive ball, and it wasn't even a home run. What's really interesting about him is kind of funny. I think there's a discussion on TexAgs on the forums that he's not a huge guy. He's kind of tall and lanky. The thing about him, very much like kind of Jace, I think somebody mentioned Lavalette, this is a really good comp for him, because I think when you look at Condon, he's not like the most built guy in the world, but if you look at the way he swings the bat, the launch angle on that thing is incredible. If he hits the ball is going in the air most of the time, and he does hit ground balls. It's an absolute missile. So I think the big thing with him, man, is he just gets the ball in the air. He generates a lot of power in that swing. He's got a quick bat, and he is just a premier hitter. He checks all of the boxes that you want in a prospect. And frankly, I'm kind of curious to see where he ends up going. Can he go number one overall? I'm not so sure he can, but boy, he's sure as heck making a case for it.
We're talking to Kendall Rogers here. LSU series coming up for A&M. Just look, LSU's not having the year that we kind of expected, or definitely what they had last year, but still a hard place to go play.
Yeah, no doubt. LSU, the thing about them that's kind of scary is this is kind of their last hurrah. This is a team that, when you look at, their situation from a postseason standpoint right now, if they don't win this series, they've got to really do some serious damage down the stretch. And so I think the big thing to keep an eye on is can LSU's pitching, for once, slow somebody down. Luke Coleman had some really good starts, but outside of Luke Coleman, Gabe's jump has just been okay. Then after that, I mean, it's been a mess. I mean, Nate Ackenhausen can be their Sunday starter, but he got banged up over the weekend. I think he's going to play this weekend, but he had like a tweaked hamstring, so he's going to be a little hobbled this weekend, and potentially in the Sunday starting role. Thatcher Hurd, who started their final game last year in Omaha, has been a total non-factor for LSU this year. So, that's the big thing for me is can they pitch enough? And, even if they can hit, can they hit enough to keep up with A&M? That'll be the big question mark. But I think LSU's best chance is to win with Holman. If they don't win with Holman, I think they're getting swept in the box this weekend. I think, if you're looking for a little extra motivation, A&M sweeping LSU would essentially knock them out of the postseason.
Kendall, great stuff, man. Thanks so much, buddy.
You got it, brother. Be good, man.
See you,
Bye.
man. Kendall Rogers there, D1 Baseball. When we come back on TexAgs Radio, some stats for you to think about next on TexAgs. Time to end the day with Double Dave's. Caller number 12, 979-693-1150. We're going to hook you up with your choice of a dozen pepperoni rolls or a large one-topping pizza from Double Dave's, who have been serving Aggie Land since 1984 with those favorite pizza and pepperoni rolls. Their reliable in-house delivery, bringing piping hot goodness straight to your door. Just click on doubledaves.com, and your favorites are on their way. Ethan Jones, one of our favorites here. Which jersey is this one?
Tyrese Halliburton. Lost last night, but one of my favorite players. I don't know why. Kind of random, but I just like him.
What's his name? Got ejected again, right?
Yeah, whatever his name is. I have no clue what you're talking about. I didn't watch the game.
You didn't watch the game? You just wear the jersey.
I'm wearing the jersey. I was working last night, had to grind.
You had to go get the grind on. Let's talk a little bit about some baseball stats because you got some offensive numbers for us to consider.
Yeah, let's look at it. So we know the stars on A&M, Jace, Ryan Prager. You can go down the list, but this is also a really deep team, and there's a lot of stats that show that. So I just compared our depth to the rest of the SEC's depth. So players on our team with a batting average of 300 or more, we have 7. That's second in the SEC. Tennessee's above us with 8, but the SEC average is only 3.8. Let's now go to the batting average of 330 or more. We have 3, which is 4th in the SEC, but the SEC average is 1.9. Players with 40 or more RBIs, we have 4, which that's tied for second in the SEC. The SEC average is 2.2. Players with 50 or more RBIs, we have 3, which that's first. The SEC average is only 0.2. Only 3 other teams have 1. Players with 50 or more home runs, we have 3, which that's tied first with Tennessee. The SEC average is 0.9. Players with a slugging percentage of .500 or more, we have 8. That's second behind Tennessee, who has 9, but the SEC average is 5.2.
Wow.
And then players with 20 or more walks, we have 7, which is first. Players with 60 or more total bases, we have 7, which is first. And then players with 30 or more runs, we have 7, which is first. So it just shows the depth of the team. Also, we can look at pitching. We're also really deep in pitching. Pitchers with an ERA of under 4, we have 5, which is 4th. The SEC average is 3.3. Pitchers with 20 or more strikeouts, we have 11, which is tied first with Ole Miss and LSU. The SEC average is 8.8. Players with 50 or more strikeouts, we have 4, which is tied first with Arkansas. The SEC average is 1.6. Pitchers with a whip, which is walks and hits for any pitched under 1.3, we have 5, which is tied second. And then pitchers with an opponent batting average under 250 is 6. We have 6 of those pitchers on our team, which is tied second. The SEC average is 4.2. So both in batting and pitching, we are really deep.
Why don't you do this? Hold your winning percentage for the rewind. I'll have you and Nick kind of break that down. Thank you very much, Ethan. Good stuff.
Yes, sir.
There. All right, that's going to do it for TexAgs Radio here on a Wednesday. Our thanks to Olin Buchanan, as always, who joined us, John Harris, Trisha Ford, Coach Pat Henry. Our track program Spotlight brought to you by Schulte Roofing with Wendell McRaven, Julia Abel, and Kentney Fontenot. We had Jason Howell on the show. We had Kendall Rogers on the show. And this guy, Ethan Jones, with some great stats there. That's going to do it for TexAgs Radio on a Wednesday. I already said that. Doesn't matter. We will see you all mañana.